becoming infinitely stronger starting from Marvel. Welcome back, brave explorers of impossible worlds. We are excited to have you here to continue this odyssey together. Before we continue, everything you'll hear is pure fiction, so please don't try to replicate combat techniques at home. This wonderful story and all its rights belong to its brilliant original author. We are only the messengers of entertainment. Want another dose of adventure? Subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a single chapter, and if you can't wait, our Patreon has exclusive surprises you'll love. Chapter 176. Keep it up, Big Brother. In the map of the ninja world, the Land of Fire, where Konoha is located, is situated at the very center of the world. Its scenery and economy are the best among the 5 great nations. However, because it is surrounded by the other 4 nations and possesses the most resources, it is always at a disadvantage in every shinobi world war, fighting against multiple opponents. If it weren't for its incredibly strong foundation and the constant emergence of geniuses, the Land of Fire's position as a ninja village would likely have changed hands long ago. And today, the ninja villages of the other 4 great nations, as usual, are attacking Konoha. This is because Konoha has defied the heavenly order and ancestral rules, actually taking control of the Land of Fire, a grave offense that the other nations absolutely cannot tolerate. Is nobody here? Following the location given by Sasuke in the group chat, Bai Ye arrived at the area where the Kirigakure forces were stationed, only to find it deserted. Apart from the remaining traces of their encampment, the place was completely empty. Continuing back, traversing most of the area, amidst the shaking earth, Bai Ye landed on a huge rock at the location of the Land of Lightning forces, still finding it deserted. What's going on? Are you playing a tunnel warfare game with me? You didn't say you split up, but you've actually regrouped somewhere already, did you? Bai Ye scratched his head, grabbing the massive boulder weighing hundreds of millions of tons from his feet and lifting it into the air. Then, while still holding the boulder, he performed a 360-degree flip. With a terrifyingly loud whoosh, he used his divine power to hurl the boulder, which he had forcibly pulled from the Death Forest, at supersonic speed. With a light leap, Bai Ye caught up with the boulder, then lightly touched its surface with his right index finger, channeling all his power evenly onto the rock through a force field. The entire rock visibly trembled violently, as if a propulsion system had been added. Its already supersonic speed increased even further, and with Bai Ye's assistance, it stopped falling and accelerated towards its destination. Under the endless speed boost, the surface of the rock quickly generated intense heat due to air friction. Under the scorching heat, the surface of the rock began to emit a faint red glow, which grew brighter and brighter. From afar, it resembled the Calamity Star from ancient legends, destined to destroy everything. On the border of the Land of Earth, the forces of the 4 great ninja villages assembled after a long march. Several Kage exchanged glances, their eyes unusually serious. Originally, the villages had decided to split into 4 groups to march towards Konoha after initial communication, but subsequent intelligence from Konoha astonished them. Bai Ye had hidden such immense power. If they didn't eliminate Bai Ye directly, even destroying Konoha would only result in a relentlessly vengeful super demon. To eliminate any future threat, they had no choice but to unite and eliminate Bai Ye together. Now that we've assembled, let's set off, said Pain, standing to the side. Tsunade and Jiraiya both nodded solemnly. After being repelled by Orochimaru, they too had chosen to join the allied shinobi forces. I never imagined we'd one day be allied with the Akatsuki, Madarumi remarked, looking at Pain and Konan beside her. This was completely different from what the books described. It's just for self-preservation, Pain said calmly. The threat posed by Bai Ye was too great, forcing them to be cautious. Self-preservation, the Raikage beside him chuckled sarcastically, but his smile froze the next moment. Hey, is that Bai Ye's attack? A sensory ninja looked up into the distance. With his words, more and more people simultaneously looked towards the sky, followed by a massive uproar. In the distant horizon, an enormous meteorite was rapidly enlarging in their vision. The heavenly meteorite, someone murmured. But most were completely bewildered, collapsing to their knees. What to do? Run? Where to run? Use ninjutsu? Who could withstand such a massive meteorite? Only now did they realize that joining forces only made it easier for Bai Ye to encircle and annihilate them. At the scene, Madarumi, the Kage, looked at Inoki, the Tsuchikage, with almost pleading eyes. Hey, you can stop it, right? With your invincible super lightweight rock technique, Inoki, huh? Jiraiya chimed in. That's right, didn't you use that technique to stop Madara Uchiha's meteor? Terumi's words jolted everyone awake, and they all turned to Inoki, hoping he could use ninjutsu to stop the meteor as the book of prophecy foretold. But only Inoki, the one directly involved, wanted to curse. He thought these people were crazy. Could the meteor in front of him be the same as Madara's in the book? According to the description, Madara's meteor not only lacks surface heat, but its speed also relied entirely on the acceleration due to gravity during free fall. This one in the distance, let alone whether he could withstand the scorching heat that could carbonize a person, was hurtling towards him at more than 10 times the speed of sound. This speed is comparable to a Gundam-like figure in its 8 gates form, hundreds of meters tall, unleashing its full power here. The instant of contact, his body would be shattered by the meteorite, then sizzle against the rocks like roasted meat, soon emitting a burnt smell. If he wants him dead, he should just say so. There's no need for beating around the bush. Is this guy insane? Does he want to destroy the entire ninja world? Tsunade couldn't help but murmur. A meteorite weighing hundreds of millions of tons, impacting the ground at several to 10 times the speed of sound, would likely cause not only mass extinction of the entire ninja world, but also easily destroy a major nation. Keep in mind, this is the border between the land of earth and the land of fire. This meteorite could reduce the population of both countries by more than 99%. We can't just sit here and wait to die, we have to stop it. Pain, the Deva path, floated into the air, the other 5 paths falling one by one, concentrating all their power on him. Then, Inoki followed suit, taking flight like Pain, preparing to intercept the meteorite. Go for it. You have to stop that meteor, below. Tens of thousands of allied shinobi cheered for the two, hoping they would succeed. Byakuya stood easily atop the extremely hot rock. The temperature didn't even scorch his clothes. It seems I used too much force. Charging up for too long might destroy Konoha. High in the air, Byakuya also noticed this problem. He hadn't expected that charging up his ultimate move for too long wouldn't be a good idea. Then, Byakuya looked at the two ninjas blocking his path with a puzzled expression. Were these people really going to stop him? Were they really that brave? Go for it, Pain. Tsuchikage. You have to stop the meteor here. Hearing the shouts below, even Byakuya couldn't help but smile slightly. Well, let's play around with it. Chapter 177 Come out. Bai Ye swears he won't hit you anymore. Above the allied shinobi forces, Pain and Inoki hovered side by side, their expressions grave. Pain, we must stop this thing here. Inoki, for my comrades behind me, I'll give my life if it costs me. Without hesitation, they unleashed their strongest attacks almost simultaneously. Looking at the massive, glowing fireball in the distance, Pain took a deep breath and charged forward, roaring, Super Shinra Tensei. As his voice fell, a terrifying repulsive force erupted from his body, concentrating a massive impact capable of crushing a city into a single direction under his control. Inoki, standing beside him, used dust release, particle style to create a blinding cone of light that pierced a meteorite. In an instant, the rock, accelerated to more than 10 times the speed of sound by Byakuya, did indeed begin to slow down under the repulsion of Shinra Tensei. Simultaneously, as Inoki's light cone swept through, large swathes of rock were annihilated back to their most basic form. It worked. The entire allied shinobi forces were secretly delighted and began cheering them on from below. But only the two in the sky knew that they had almost reached their limit, yet their impact on the meteorite was negligible, almost like a scraping of the skin. Just as they were about to despair, several black spheres, tens of meters in diameter, struck the meteorite. Looking down, they saw the Jinchuriki of the allied shinobi forces giving them thumbs up. Everyone, Inoki and Pain in the sky were deeply moved, especially Pain, who finally felt the camaraderie of fighting side by side. Hold on, they roared simultaneously, mobilizing all their chakra. Blood gushed from their noses as their bodies reached their limits, but it was still futile. The meteorite's speed remained undiminished. Ho-ha, muta. Looking at their despair, Byakuya laughed wildly from the meteorite, his voice reverberating and carrying for miles. Is there really no way? God, please stop this meteorite, or we will all die. For the people of the land of fire and the land of earth, please unleash your divine power. Even if only one of us survives, someone must inherit our bond and avenge us against the demon. Seeing all their efforts in vain, The entire allied shinobi forces were as miserable as if they had swallowed a dead child, and some ninjas even began to pray for divine help. On the meteorite, Bai Ye, seeing their despair, smiled slightly and said, "There is no god, but there is a demon." As soon as he finished speaking, Bai Ye's right fist swung up violently, as if piercing through the heavens and earth, and slammed into the entire rock. In an instant, the power of Bai Ye's fist was transmitted layer by layer, penetrating from the surface to the inside, and then exploded in an instant after a violent tremor. They survived. Everyone was stunned. Anoki and Pain felt like clowns floating in midair. This massive meteorite, which was almost unstoppable by the allied shinobi forces, was shattered by Bai Ye's own hand, like a giant firework bursting into bloom. But the ninjas below didn't have much time to rejoice. The next moment, the Raikage hurriedly shouted, "Everyone take cover. A meteor is coming." Indeed, a meteor. Bai Ye's punch shattered the entire rock in an instant. But the mass didn't disappear into thin air. Instead, it split into countless smaller rocks, several meters, tens of meters, or even hundreds of meters in size, scattering across the ground like a meteor shower. Although the fragmented rocks didn't possess the power to destroy the entire land of fire, the risk of death for the ninjas below wasn't significantly reduced. "I have saved the ninja world once again." Floating high in the sky, Bai Ye smiled as he watched the meteor fall, completely unaware that he was the one who had caused the meteorite. Boom! 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 Below, the earth shook violently for miles around, the ground covered with countless meteorites, burying 90% of the allied shinobi forces under the weight of the rocks. Bai Ye floated in the air, his gaze piercing through the billowing smoke and dust as he surveyed the devastated landscape. He smiled and said, "Looks like I've saved quite a few ninjas. The number is a bit more than I expected. I'll have to eliminate a few more." Bai Ye spoke these incredibly cruel words in the air, then slightly curled his right index finger. In an instant, a black sphere of energy condensed on Bai Ye's jade-white finger, rapidly expanding like a balloon being inflated at a visible speed. 1 meter, 4 meters, 5 meters, 8 meters. A demon. This is simply a demon. Below, the surviving members of the allied shinobi forces gritted their teeth, staring at the corpses of their comrades. But the next moment, as the smoke cleared, everyone was struck dumb. In the sky, Bai Ye, with his flowing black hair and godlike appearance, hovered in midair, looking down. In his right hand, a high-density sphere of energy, a full 100 meters tall, was condensed on Bai Ye's finger. Tail beast ball. Everyone stared in disbelief at the enormous sphere above their heads. That should be enough. Bai Ye looked up at the massive sphere that had formed at his fingertips. His physique was not only incredibly strong, but he also possessed a regenerative ability comparable to a perpetual motion machine. The chakra that could be extracted from his body was almost limitless, the only limitation being the power output. Looking at the tailed beast ball that covered the sky and was still growing, the allied shinobi forces below collapsed, crying out, "We surrender. Can't we just stop fighting? Don't you think it's too late to surrender now?" Bai Ye smiled slightly, looking at the crowd below. "Besides, too many people have survived. I only accept elites. I will never accept trash. After you've survived this wave, then you can pledge your loyalty to me." As Bai Ye spoke, he looked at the numerous shinobi surrounding them and gently released his grip. In the despairing gazes of the remaining allied shinobi forces, the massive energy, 200 meters in diameter, trembled slightly before crashing down. Upon contact with the earth, it unleashed a blinding light, engulfing everyone. Inside Konoha village, Sasuke patiently awaited good news from the front lines. The next moment, a flash of light appeared in the distance. He turned in astonishment, seeing what looked like a fireball rising in the distance, threatening to spread towards them. Sasuke thought, "What is this guy doing? Doesn't he know how to restrain himself?" A minute later, Bai Ye's feet touched the ground for the first time, finding himself in a massive crater several kilometers wide. "Hey, Moshi, is anyone still alive?" Bai Ye shouted from inside the crater. "It's so deserted here, not a soul in sight. It's creepy. Someone come out and talk to me." "Nobody here?" "Don't worry. Come out. I swear I won't hit you." Desolate, silent, utterly still, only Bai Ye's voice seemed to echo throughout the empty valley. Chapter 178. Bai Ye, so gentle. "Oh, there's someone else." In the deep pit, Bai Ye turned his head and saw a blonde woman kneeling on the ground, her large breasts prominently displayed, panting heavily. Beside her were more than a dozen cage-level figures, their faces grim, watching Bai Ye warily. "You managed to survive with your incredible regenerative abilities," Bai Ye laughed. "Hey, let's stop fighting. The casualties are already so high, there's no need to create more bloodshed." "You dare say that?" the group wanted to roar inwardly. 99% of the people present had been killed by Bai Ye, and now he casually tossed out a sentence and thought he could stop the fight. "You bastard, how could I possibly admit defeat to you?" Rikage roared angrily. "Hey, do you think surrendering is too shameful? How about I admit defeat then?" Bai Ye nonchalantly raised his hands in surrender. But this was practically a blatant slap in the face to the group. The surrendered guy was completely unharmed, still grinning, while their numbers were dwindling. "Damn it!" The Rikage's eyes blazed with fury. In the next instant, he channeled his lightning-release chakra into himself and slammed his right foot into the ground. Those around him felt the ground lurch violently beneath their feet as the Rikage shot out like lightning, too fast for their eyes to follow. PFFT, when everyone refocused their attention on the Rikage, they saw behind Bai Ye that the Rikage's right fist was extended forward in an attack stance, but his shoulder was empty. "That's terrifying. I clearly surrendered, yet they still tried to kill me," Bai Ye said, his voice trembling with fear, sending a chill down the spines of the others. They didn't even know how the Rikage had died. "Alright, enough joking. I'll give you 5 seconds." Bai Ye's face turned cold, his emotions as unpredictable as the weather. "Those who are willing to surrender, raise your right hands. The rest of you can all die." 5. Bai Ye looked at them coldly, the last syllable drawn out, causing everyone to exchange bewildered glances, their hearts filled with struggle. 4, 3, 2, 1. Suddenly, Bai Ye accelerated the countdown. Under the pressure of life and death, a few couldn't resist betraying him. But most of the survivors, cage-level fighters, held firm to their convictions, staring at Bai Ye with hostility, refusing to raise their hands. After reciting those numbers, Bai Ye turned and left, leaving the others looking at each other in bewilderment. It seemed nothing had happened. Whether they raised their hands or not, nothing had occurred. Could it be the damage was delayed? Someone couldn't help but think. "Bai Ye, why didn't you kill us?" Tsunade called out, looking up at Bai Ye's retreating figure. Bai Ye didn't stop, simply waving his hand. A gentle breeze carried a chill, bringing with it Bai Ye's voice, "Live well from now on, find a job, and don't even think about rebelling against me, you'll really die." Everyone watched the retreating figure with complicated emotions. Had they been let go? Only then did they remember that Bai Ye had said he wouldn't fight them anymore back in the deep pit. Slowly pacing back, Bai Ye found himself back in Konoha village, where Sasuke, Kakashi, and the others were already waiting for him at the village entrance. "You made quite a commotion," Sasuke said, as if Konoha had just been hit by a typhoon. As for the result, Sasuke didn't ask, because he believed that Bai Ye couldn't possibly fail with his strength. But besides him, there were others present. Orochimaru smiled and asked, "Mr. Bai, how did the situation go?" "All the ninjas below the cage level have been eliminated," Bai Ye stated simply, causing a stir among those present. That was 50,000 people. Even if they had 50,000 pigs, they probably couldn't capture them all in 3 days and 3 nights. As for those at the cage level or above, I didn't lay a hand on any of them who survived, Bai Ye said calmly. The people present were stunned. Why, leaving them to fend for themselves? This wasn't Bai Ye's style at all, he was being far too gentle. Why? Probably because they're all characters with names and backstories from the story. Since they barely survived under my watchful eye, sparing their lives isn't a big deal, Bai Ye explained, scratching his head. He figured he could spare their lives if he wanted, and besides, it might not necessarily be a good thing for them. These people would live in Bai Ye's fear for the rest of their lives, and if they dared to resist, their deaths would be far more gruesome than those of the allied shinobi forces today. Now that I've dealt with the allied shinobi forces of the 4 great nations, that means they were in a power vacuum. You can unify the ninja world while you're at it, Bai Ye said. As long as they're careful not to synthesize the 10 tails, the ninja world can remain peaceful for the next decade or so. And after that, under his tutelage, Sasuke's strength will definitely exceed the limits of this world. When Sasuke becomes stronger, he can simply capture Kaguya and then, cough cough. The people of Konoha nodded naturally. Byakuya had already completed the preliminary work, and they naturally had to resolve things perfectly afterward. It was foreseeable that the ninja world would be peaceful for quite some time under Byakuya's scythe. Unless another powerful force comparable to Byakuya appeared, it seemed that Byakuya might be worthy of a Ninja World Peace Award. Watching everyone busy reshuffling the ninja world, Byakuya stood aside silently, as if observing the world. After a long while, he smiled casually and said to Sasuke, who was diligently practicing ninjutsu beside him, "I'm going back now. I'll come visit you later." Sasuke was stunned for a moment, then said somewhat reluctantly, "After the ninja world is at peace, I'll invite you and the group to come visit." "Okay, I'll be waiting for you," Byakuya said, casually ruffling Sasuke's black hair, and gently pressed the return button amidst the boy's eye roll. A moment later, back in the Marvel Universe, Bai Ye looked at the clock in front of him. Only 5 hours had passed since he left, and it wasn't even dark yet. There's still plenty of time, Bai Ye thought, glancing up at the sky before disappearing from his spot. Meanwhile, in the universe where Master Luo was in the group chat, Luo Meng looked at the large number of disciples knocked down by tornado and angrily pointed, "I'll fight you, beat you until you're crawling on the ground, beat you until you can't find your way back. Master Luo, forget it, let Master Hong handle it." "The ring is slippery," a martial arts instructor advised, but Master Luo quickly brushed him aside. "HMPH, things are different now. I've been in seclusion for 3 months, Luo Meng said confidently, looking at the astonished gym leaders around him. The next moment, he leaped 3 meters high like a swallow, his toes lightly touching the ground, and landed lightly on the ground under the watchful eyes of those around him. "Please," Master Luo said, extending his right hand to the Western boxing champion Tornado. Chapter 179 Everyone has a chance to make a contribution, 40 practices. Chinese Kung Fu. The surrounding audience's eyes lit up as they watched Master Luo leap 3 meters high, but the martial arts instructors practically popped their eyes out. "Hey, old Luo, did you jump that high just now? It felt like 3 meters. His head was almost on the roof beam. Is it really true?" Several martial arts instructors who had previously blocked Master Luo's path whispered among themselves. An expert skill is immediately apparent. Having practiced martial arts their entire lives, they understood the concept of leaping 3 meters off the ground. Gravity didn't exist. Everyone, including Ip Man and Master Hung, no longer cared about the tornado, they only wanted to know how Master Luo had done it. Even the tornado looked at the slightly aged man before them with disbelief, wondering if they were seeing things. "Hey, you damn foreign devil, come on, I'm going to KO you," Master Luo said, constantly demonstrating the stances of the mantis boxing style, while Master Hung, who was preparing to attack, quietly retreated to the side. "I don't understand, I need to watch a little longer." The martial arts masters couldn't help but think this to themselves, and no longer tried to stop Master Luo from entering the arena. With Luo Meng's provocation and the encouragement of the other martial arts masters, the duel quickly began. Because he had shown off a little earlier, Tornado wasn't careless and took it seriously, giving it his all. "You damn foreign devil, watch out, this arena is slippery," Master Luo joked, his face relaxed. Ding, as the referee announced the rules, the bell rang, signaling the start of the match, and both sides attacked simultaneously. Tornado strained his arm muscles, raising his right fist to throw a jab, preparing to test the waters. Master Luo immediately channeled his inner energy, then unleashed a palm strike with his right hand. To the astonishment of the audience, before Tornado's fist could even fully extend, a single palm strike sent him flying off the arena, crashing into the wall and losing consciousness. A one-hit kill. Looking at Master Luo on the stage, everyone couldn't help but stand up from the stands, so astonished they forgot to applaud. Soon, after a brief moment of surprise, all the martial arts masters and disciples present cheered and rushed onto the stage. Reporters also stepped forward, pointing microphones at Master Luo, wanting him to say a few words. "My abilities today are all thanks to my hard work and dedication. Chinese Kung Fu, awesome," Master Luo proudly declared, giving a thumbs up into the microphone. Below the stage, Ip Man and Master Hung's expressions were priceless. Was this really Kung Fu? Having practiced their entire lives, as top practitioners in the field, they could certainly see that, in terms of technique, Master Luo hadn't changed much since his fight a few months ago. But the power and speed of his attacks were simply too fast and too strong, even they couldn't defend against it. This wasn't just Kung Fu, it was practically mortality. That night, After Luo Meng finished a series of interviews, he returned home and was immediately surrounded by various martial arts masters. Old Luo, we've known each other for over 10 years, don't try to fool me, how did you manage to do that today? The head of the White Crane Martial Arts School stepped forward, his face full of curiosity. And the other martial arts masters around him also looked on with eager curiosity. Well, let's not beat around the bush, actually I met a celestial being recently, and he taught me a divine skill. I practiced diligently for a few months and now I have this strength, Master Luo said with a smug look on his face. A celestial being really here? Everyone was surprised. Master Luo's words confirmed their guess. After all, it was definitely not something that could be done by human power. Old Luo, we're such good friends, how about I become your disciple and call you master, the head of the White Crane Martial Arts School said with an embarrassed smile. Go away, don't I understand what you mean? But I have to ask the celestial being to see if he agrees, Master Luo said. You can still contact the celestial being. Several masters were surprised. They thought the celestial being was the kind of person who taught martial arts and then ran away. Master Luo rolled his eyes and gave a thumbs up. Nonsense, my relationship with the immortals is like this, best buddies, you know? They even took me to their otherworldly paradise a while ago. This is getting more and more ridiculous. Is it reliable? Several shopkeepers looked at old Luo, who was spouting nonsense. Master Luo, a gentleman's sword, at Deep Blue, Mr. Bai, I want to pass on the original version of the Purple Cloud Divine Skill, is that alright, Master Luo? Just upload the original version. Mr. Bai's upgraded version is too powerful, I want to keep some in reserve. In the chat group, Master Luo's message made Bai Ye focused some of his attention on the chat group, and then he saw Master Luo begin to explain the whole story. After Master Luo finished explaining the ins and outs, Bai immediately said it was no problem. After all, it was just the Purple Cloud Divine Skill. Now he was directly practicing the Everyone Has Skill 3.0 version, and he no longer cared about the original treasure of the sectas for Bai Ye. Upon seeing Master Luo's words, he posted his summary of the past few days. Administrator, Shen Lan, uploaded the group file, Chakra Cultivation Manual, please check it. Administrator, Shen Lan, uploaded the group file, Complete Guide to Ninjutsu Cultivation, please check it. Administrator, Shen Lan, uploaded the group file, Everyone Can Practice version 4.0, please check it. The next moment, this voice echoed in the minds of all group members. Is version 4.0 finally coming? All group members couldn't help but get excited, wondering how many times more effective it would be than before. Shen Lan, before cultivating 4.0, you should first cultivate your chakra. I've upgraded and iterated the human body structure in the new version. Shen Lan, once you have the corresponding meridians for chakra cultivation, and they coordinate with the meridians for internal energy, you can cultivate 4.0. Bai Ye explained simply that chakra energy itself is extracted from the body's cells, so its effect on prolonging life is relatively much weaker. The internal energy that can extend lifespan by 1,000 years not only complements other abilities but also accelerates chakra refining, even allowing for direct storage of chakra in the danshin. Soon, even the Uchiha who were cultivating were drawn to the chat group. Uchiha Sasuke, how is the 4.0 version? Deep Blue, the new version ceiling is over 10,000 times stronger than 3.0. After spending 40 or 50 years cultivating to the peak, combined with a complete ninjutsu training manual, one should be able to reach around level 7 in the chat group's power rating. However, the physical boost is relatively limited, so actual combat power will fluctuate. Hiss. 10,000 times. Level 7. Seeing the reply in the group, everyone gasped, utterly shocked to see that, apart from Bai Kuaya, the highest level in the group was only level 3. Chapter 180, The Battle of New York, Avengers, Endgame Edition. On Mount Hui, Bai, after silently observing the internal energy effects of version 3.0, unhesitatingly chose to switch cultivation methods. Why bother cultivating with version 3.0? Just switch to version 4.0, he thought. Meanwhile, as Bai Ye chatted with the group, 3 days quickly passed, and the voting results were in. After numerous reports from various regions, a total of 2 billion people voted for awakening. This massive number, compared to the 20,000 awakening machines hastily built, was a huge undertaking. Now the world knew that war with alien civilizations was imminent, and each region, to ensure sufficient self-defense capabilities, had to awaken as many people as possible before then. Soon, under arrangement, the first batch of awakened individuals were selected through a fair and impartial lottery. The list included Victor Doom, Kingpin, Stark, Peter Parker. Yes, indeed, the lottery was conducted fairly and impartially according to the order of power and status. Inside the White House in Washington, D.C., as the awakening equipment's use ended, Stark's miniature reactor stopped supplying power, and the orange light within disappeared once more. Stark stepped out of the machine, gently twisting his neck, feeling no significant changes in his body. "When should my abilities awaken?" Stark asked Reed beside him. "To allow the body an adaptation period, it's expected to take 1 to 3 days, Reed replied. "Is that so? Hopefully, it won't be some superpower that makes me ugly, otherwise I'll have to give up," Stark said hopefully. Kingpin, who was already impatient, said, "Hurry up and activate it." "Is it my turn?" Rodriguez, standing nearby, also secretly looked forward to it. Just as Kingpin was about to enter the machine, a staff member reported, "President, Mr. Ebony Moore reports that the teleportation device has been manufactured." The expressions on everyone's faces froze, and Kingpin stopped entering the machine. Rodriguez nodded slightly. "I understand, I'll be right there." "What a pity, if it were a day or two later, we could have witnessed 2 billion superhumans fighting aliens," Stark sighed. "Then how about we activate the portal a little later? The initiative is on our side anyway," Kingpin said. "Forget it, it's better to resolve this sooner." Stark shook his head and opened the group chat, tagging Bai Ye, Playboy, @Deep Blue. Ebony Moore's teleportation device is set up. "When are you coming?" "Is it ready?" A calm voice sounded behind Stark, startling him. "Why have you been appearing and disappearing like this lately?" Stark said. "New York has been completely cleared out. The teleportation device is on the roof of my company's new building." "But why would you think of that?" Stark looked at Bai Ye, not understanding why he would set the teleportation address in New York. "Well, it's kind of a plot recreation." Bai Ye's seemingly random words left everyone confused. The next moment, with a dizzying spin, everyone in the White House was astonished to find themselves instantly in New York, with Ebony Moore's teleportation device right in front of them. Stark looked at the drastically changed environment in surprise, wondering what level of power Bai Ye had reached. "If it's ready, let's begin," Bai Ye said to Ebony Moore. The other party immediately nodded, then activated the device. The next moment, a blue beam of light shot into the sky, blasting a pale blue spatial tunnel hundreds of meters long. Meanwhile, New York City, having long been emptied, was deserted, its streets eerily silent and desolate. But moments later, 4 men of different builds and appearances suddenly appeared on a street. Stark took a deep breath, looking at the familiar New York streets before him. Everything was exactly the same as 10 years ago. Surrounding him were the Hulk, Captain America, and Ant-Man. "Wait, why is it so quiet? Is the time wrong?" Ant-Man exclaimed in surprise. The other 3, lost in their reminiscence, were jolted awake. The Hulk, now one with Banner, surveyed his surroundings. The streets were orderly, but as quiet as a ghost town. Not a soul was to be seen. "That's right, we've indeed returned to New York during the Chitauri invasion," Stark murmured, looking up to see a blue spatial tunnel clearly visible. Countless Chitauri poured out of the passage, flying downwards. "Our past has been altered?" Captain America asked, puzzled. "No, not at all. I've already explained it clearly," the slightly aged Stark calmly shook his head. "Our so-called time travel isn't about going back to the past, but about arriving in a parallel universe with a similar environment. For example, Thor and Black Widow, although they also time traveled like us, arrived in a different parallel universe. It's possible that a new variable has appeared in this parallel universe, or perhaps our own universe is the anomaly." Stark's expression was serious. "What do we do now?" "Everything has changed." Ant-Man was anxious. "The locations of the Infinity Stones might have even changed." "Don't worry, at least the Space Stone's location hasn't changed." Stark shook his head. "Friday, hack into the current network and compare the changes between the 2 timelines." "Yes, sir," a calm voice sounded in their ears. Soon after, Friday reported back. "Sir, based on our comparison of historical events across the 2 timelines, this universe has never been the same as our original universe from the very beginning, possessing multiple inhuman races such as mutants and vampires," Friday explained. Surprise flashed in the eyes of the group. They had never heard of any of this. But according to my investigation, while the history of the entire planet differs, the historical threads are roughly the same. The real difference can be traced back to 3 months ago when a man named White Knight appeared. White Knight, the group murmured the name, and the next moment, a projection appeared from Stark, displaying all the major events of the past few months in visual form. I've been appointed the planet's president by that White Knight. The middle-aged Stark couldn't remain calm, his face filled with astonishment. The other three stared at this timeline, so different from their own, filled with astonishing facts. The entire Earth was ruled by one person. Boom. Just as they were browsing through the first 179 chapters of Friday's movie-style version of Becoming Infinitely Stronger starting from Marvel, a tremendous roar came from afar. The group looked up at the sound and saw the Chitauri fleet in the sky suddenly struck by a heavy blow, instantly shattering into countless fragments. Who did that? They asked in surprise. Friday calmly replied, Sir, it was White Knight. Chapter 181 The Prince replaced by a civet cat. Stark Tower. Stark and the others looked up at the massive pillar of light piercing the sky, their expressions utterly calm. They knew that beside them stood a ruthless being 1,000 times more terrifying than the Chitauri. Bai Ye, his black hair flowing freely, raised his right hand to rub his left trapezius muscle, and said, I'll go first. With that, Bai Ye vanished. In the spatial portal, thousands upon thousands of Chitauri were arriving in New York. Countless satellites focused on the landing point, and people all over the world were watching, eager to see what these aliens looked like. These are aliens? They don't seem that strong, Magneto sneered. Professor X tried to remotely control these monsters, only to discover that these alien life forms shared a single brain. Meanwhile, Susan and Camilla were curled up on the sofa watching television. But the next moment, without warning, thousands of Chitauri pouring out of the portal exploded instantly, turning into specks of fireworks. What's going on? Everyone was stunned for a moment. They roughly guessed that Bai Ye had made the move, but they could only see the fireworks of the Chitauri explosions and couldn't capture Bai Ye's image. Too brutal. It would have been better to leave him with a complete corpse. We could have used him for research, Stark said, feigning innocence after getting the benefit. In just 1 second, he annihilated all the invaders, including the Chitauri fleet. Then, Bai Ye plunged into the other side of the space-time portal. In space, dozens or even hundreds of space fleets were arranged in a matrix, neatly and uniformly in outer space. Each fleet carried hundreds of thousands or even millions of troops. Because the space passage was too narrow, they could only send their troops through little by little, fighting a war of attrition. What happened? Why did all the troops that arrived on Earth disappear? I don't know. Maybe the other side used some kind of high-powered weapon. At this moment, because all the Chitauri were connected to space fleet terminals in outer space, the instantaneous destruction of thousands of Chitauri bodies left their main bodies completely stunned. But before they could react, they saw a man charging straight into the portal, a struggling Chitauri soldier clutched in his hand. Bai Ye floated in space, his arrogant gaze fixed on the terminals of the Chitauri space fleets ahead. Earth is not for you to rule. With that, Bai Ye gently squeezed the Chitauri's head in his right hand, crushing it like a paste. In the blink of an eye, his figure vanished, transforming into a streak of light and flying towards the fleet. Compared to the massive fleet, Bai Ye's body was as small as an ant, but this ant possessed a hardness 1,000,000 times greater than steel. Boom! Without any resistance, as if a pencil-piercing soft tofu, Bai Ye's body pierced through the first space fleet, leaving a small dot on its massive surface. Bai Ye didn't stop after passing through this fleet, continuing towards the next one. Behind him, the hole he had smashed through began to rapidly expand, the powerful kinetic energy expanding outwards over time. In an instant, thousands of Chitauri near the cave entrance were vaporized by the massive shockwave. Then, a massive explosion occurred. Amidst the dazzling fireworks, the other hundreds of fleets received a signal. Reporting, Commander, the god of war has been destroyed, in the main fleet. A Chitauri reported in panic, looking at the fleet's control panel. But the next moment, he shouted almost in despair, the sky-covering ship, the perfect ship, all destroyed, and the John ship is gone too. The commander of this fleet listened to his subordinates' report in disbelief. Every 2 seconds, a fleet was destroyed, and death seemed imminent. The next moment could be his. He roared in despair, who attacked? What destroyed so many fleets? I don't know, it was too fast. We couldn't even detect the shape of the attacking object. We only know that its movement speed was over 80 kilometers per second. The soldier broke down. During this time, 2 more fleets were destroyed, and despair spread through every fleet. Retreat! Retreat! The commander of this space fleet roared, but it was too late. The next moment, he saw with his naked eye a luminous, comet-like line piercing through the opposing fleet in the distance, followed by a massive explosion. Seemingly noticing this, the luminous line made a sharp 32-degree turn in the air, hurtling towards them. Upon seeing the line, the fleet commander reacted instantly, shouting into the channel, "The target is a human. That line is that human's body." His words were cut short as Bai Ye had already pierced through the fleet, the immense impact and intense heat engulfing him. Few responded to his words in the communication channel, and the fleet lost communication at a visible speed. These once colossal steel monsters now resembled giant steel coffins. Some tried to escape, but no one could keep up with Bai Ye's speed. All the fleets that fled were caught up with and crushed by Bai Ye within seconds. In this universe, Bai Ye's body moved with the speed of straight lines, curves, and waves, easily destroying fleet after fleet. Thanos isn't here at all. Where's he? Bai Ye aimlessly destroyed the fleets, discovering that Thanos was indeed not among them. Meanwhile, in New York, the future Stark watched the fleets transform into fireworks within the portal in the sky, completely petrified. They had been thinking that with the world changing, if humanity couldn't win, they would lend a hand, but now they'd become the clowns. "It's over, we have no chance," Ant-Man muttered to himself, feeling that their goal of stealing the Infinity Stones was now a distant dream. "Don't worry, we have plenty of time," Stark said calmly. "Anyway, no matter how long we stay here, it'll only be a moment before we return. We can take our time, Dr. Banner will go borrow the time stone from Doctor Strange as planned, and the 3 of us, let's wait until the Battle of New York is over," Stark said with a complex expression, also feeling hopeless. "Or how about this, you impersonate yourself?" Ant-Man's eyes suddenly lit up. The people around him were all taken aback. "What do you mean? Your status in this world is arguably the highest. After the Battle of New York, you can impersonate Stark of this world and take the gems directly," Ant-Man suggested. Chapter 182 Think of your family, don't offend Bai Ye. Impersonate myself in this world. Hearing Ant-Man's words, a strange light flashed in the eyes of the others, realizing that there might be a chance of success. Stark hesitated, because it was far too dangerous. If discovered, the death could be extremely gruesome. "What do you think?" Ant-Man asked expectantly. I'll give it a try," Stark nodded hesitantly. "Theoretically, New York should currently contain 3 Infinity Stones simultaneously. If this plan succeeds, you can directly obtain the space and mind. As for time, we'll retrieve it from Doctor Strange," Ant-Man said. In deep space, Bai Ye surveyed his surroundings. Hundreds of destroyed Chitauri fleet wreckage were neatly arranged around him, forming a glowing net. After searching and confirming that not a single Chitauri had survived, Bai Ye swooped back to Earth. Landing gently in front of Stark, Bai Ye said regretfully, "It's a pity we didn't encounter Thanos, otherwise we could have just dealt with him directly." Stark looked at Bai Ye speechlessly. Other races in the universe wished they could be wiped out in their lifetime, yet this guy was eager to find him. Bai Ye snapped his fingers lightly, and the next moment, the group returned to the White House. Bai Ye said, "Once everyone awakens their superpowers, you should focus on developing aerospace technology. Then we can expand directly into space. This Earth is a bit too small." With a simple instruction, Bai Ye's figure disappeared. But it was foreseeable that in the coming days, the entire Earth would frantically invest in aerospace technology because of his words. Meanwhile, in the deserted New York, as Bai Ye left, Ebony Maw and the scientists present noticed Stark walking back from the side. "Master, why are you back again?" Ebony Maw, holding the Mind Scepter, looked at Stark with a puzzled expression. "It's because Bai Ye forgot to put the Infinity Stone away and sent me back to get it." "Give it to me now," Stark said, looking annoyed, but secretly relieved that he hadn't been discovered. As he spoke, Stark also found it absurd. Ebony Maw, who had fought him to the death years ago, was now mind-controlled and calling him master in this world. Even more bizarrely, the Mind Stone was now in Ebony Maw's hands, controlled by the Mind Stone. Such an important item as the Space Stone was just left lying around, not even put away after use. Was he really that careless? "As you command," Ebony Maw bowed slightly, then used the Mind Stone scepter to instantly close the spatial portal. As the portal disappeared, The space stone was revealed, placed in Ebony Maw's suitcase, and handed over. Stark couldn't even maintain his usual composure, quickly taking it and saying, "Give me the Mind Stone too, I'll take it with me." Holding 2 stones in his hands, Stark felt a sense of unreality. He had obtained 2 stones so easily? Ebony Maw, I forgot to mention earlier, remembered to give the 2 Infinity Stones to Magneto and the others for safekeeping. A voice suddenly came from the side, and Stark's holographic projection appeared, speaking to the stunned Ebony Maw. He stared blankly at the person appearing on the scene, himself? The future Stark, clutching 2 items, stared wide-eyed, his heart pounding. Mystique? What are you doing here? And you've transformed into me? You failed to seduce Bai Ye the other day, are you trying to use my appearance to get close to him? Stark chuckled mischievously, confused. But Ebony Maw immediately reacted, shouting, "Master, this guy just transformed into you and took 2 Infinity Stones." As he spoke, Ebony Maw began manipulating his telekinesis, pulling up the surrounding stone slabs and sending them flying towards the imposter. Only then did Stark notice the 2 items in Mystique's hands. The guilty future Stark instantly transformed, his entire body covered in nano-armor, the energy cannon on his chest flashing a blinding blue light. A beam of light instantly shattered the thick stone slab that Ebony Maw had pulled up with his telekinesis. Then, his right hand shot out, striking Ebony Maw's chest once more with a mind control scepter. In an instant, Ebony Maw was once again under mind control, but this time with a different master. Phew, Futures breathed a sigh of relief. Although he had been exposed, at least he was no longer at risk of being caught. Raising his hand, Futures lightly pressed the teleportation device on his arm, quickly sending the 2 Infinity Stones back to their original timeline. As for his teammates, they could only pray for their own good fortune. The next moment, his armor was enveloped by a white and red garment, ready to be transported. Just as he was about to leave, Stark's virtual projection calmly said, "Trying to run? I don't know who you are, but if you don't want your whole family slaughtered, think carefully before you speak." "What do you mean? Are you threatening me?" Futures stopped pressing the buttons and turned to look directly at himself. "Not a threat, just a warning." Stark had completely calmed down, looking at the person in front of him who looked exactly like him. "I advise you to consider your family. I haven't reported this to White Knight yet, so there's still room for reconciliation. If he finds out his things were stolen, things will really get out of hand." Inside the White House, Stark was having this conversation, while Kingpin was undergoing ability development within his awakening device. Rodriguez noticed his serious expression and approached, asking, "You look a bit off. Is something wrong?" "Nothing, a petty thief tried to steal from me. I caught him and was about to give him a talking to. If he doesn't return it, I'll call the police and deal with it seriously," Stark explained, not wanting to escalate the situation. Stepping out of his office and standing in the White House corridor, Stark looked at himself in the building and said, "Whatever your reason for wanting to steal the Infinity Stones, put them down now, or I'll report it the moment you leave the building. Then you can only pray that White Knight finds you quickly. Every second you waste on White Knight will increase the damage to your entire clan. I'm just borrowing them," Futures explained. "I'll return them when I'm done. People need to follow procedures when they have problems. If everyone acted first and reported later like you, this planet would be in chaos," said planetary ruler Stark. "If you have any problems, you can give me feedback. If the reason is appropriate, I might be able to help you solve them." "Yes, Master," Ebony Maw, who had been brainwashed, also advised, "Let's talk things out. We really can't afford to offend White Knight. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels." Chapter 183: The Disparity Between Two Universes. In Stark Tower, New York, Ebony Maw was trying to dissuade his new master. After so many days of observation, he knew what kind of person White Knight was, and like the scientists he had previously controlled, he began to offer advice. Looking at the man who looked exactly like himself, Stark in the White House couldn't help but feel a sense of admiration, which is why he said a few more words. Of course, if this guy was truly obstinate, then only the hellish realm awaited him. Futures looked at Ebony Maw, then at the holographic projection. After a fierce struggle, considering that his personality in this universe shouldn't be too bad, he finally put down the 2 items he was holding. Well done. Now, can you tell me why you stole the Infinity Stones? Stark smiled. To make a long story short, I am you from a parallel future. I need to travel through different timelines to collect the 6 Infinity Stones to save half of life in our universe. Future sighed, leaving Stark completely bewildered. You're saying you're me from the future? Stark looked the man up and down, completely unconvinced. If you're still joking, I'll take this seriously. I'm not lying to you. I am you 10 years from now, Future said solemnly. Impossible. You said you'd come back in 10 years to retrieve the Infinity Stones and save the universe. I'm asking you, why didn't Bai Ye come in person? Stark shook his head in denial. The situation is so dire that it requires me to risk my life. This means Bai Ye is definitely in trouble. And the severity of this matter is definitely beyond what the Infinity Stones alone can solve. Do you agree with this logic? You're right. If Bai Ye were here, none of this would have happened. Because there's no such person as Bai Ye in my universe. Your universe is the anomaly. What Bai Ye, Magneto, Professor X, vampires? Our universe doesn't have any of them. The more he spoke, the more aggrieved he felt, incredibly envious of his future self. Why did he get to live a life of luxury as a planetary governor, while he was stuck leading the charge? Friday, show him the future of our universe. As soon as he finished speaking, Jarvis's voice rang in Stark's ears. Sir, my system has been hacked. What? Stark was shocked, then found himself seeing images appearing before his eyes, all from the other side's timeline. It really is me. Stark was genuinely confused now. Don't move, I'm coming right now. Wait for me for 30 minutes, forget it. With your current movement speed, which hasn't been upgraded since Mark III, it'll take too long to get here, Future said. You're at the White House now, right? I'll come find you myself. With that, Future, clad in his armor, soared into the sky, not touching the Infinity Stones inside the building again, and flew towards the White House in Washington. This little display immediately convinced Stark of about 70–80%, and his mind began to waver. Meanwhile, near the Sanctum Sanctorum in New York, the Hulk and Ant-Man quietly arrived on the rooftop, standing in front of the door, ready to push it open and enter. You've come to the wrong timeline. If you're looking for Doctor Strange, he's already evacuated New York like the other citizens, the Ancient One suddenly reminded them from the side. Since Bai Ye issued the everyone can cultivate internal energy policy, the medical field has gradually declined. Surgical procedures that used to seem important can now be directly recovered through internal energy cultivation. Unless it's a major accident, nobody goes to the hospital. So, in this universe, Strange no longer works as a doctor but has transferred all his assets to invest in the stock market. After several months of unsuccessful attempts at investment, he has lost everything, far worse than in the original timeline. The Ancient One is now ready to accept this refugee. Who are you? The group looked at the bald woman in the yellow robes before them with suspicion, immediately noticing the eye of Agamotto on her chest. You can call me the Ancient One, the Ancient One said, gently taking out the time stone and handing it over. Take it, so casual. The three were all incredulous, unable to believe they could obtain the time stone without even knowing who they were. Was security in this world really that lax? The Ancient One simply smiled mysteriously, offering no explanation. Inside the White House, Stark looked at his future self, now clad in a nanotech suit, who had descended from the sky. Now, tell me specifically what happened. Simply put, a guy named Thanos collected all 6 Infinity Stones and randomly wiped out half the population of the entire universe. That included half the population of Earth, including Hawkeye's family. Future Stark was trying to appeal to emotions. Thanos again. Stark hadn't expected this to be related to Thanos, then asked, Hawkeye? Who's that? You don't even know Hawkeye. What about SHIELD? Future Stark looked shocked. He had only a general understanding of the universe's trajectory due to the limited time. They conspired with Hydra to rebel and were wiped out. Their leader, Nick Fury, couldn't even be found. Stark uttered some incredibly absurd statements. You're saying SHIELD colluded with Hydra? How is that possible? Futures couldn't believe it. The history of this universe was too far-fetched. What about the Hulk and Captain America? The Hulk was wiped out along with SHIELD. But, is Captain America still alive? Futures fell completely silent. He suspected that the good life in his universe was obtained by sacrificing the luck of other superheroes. After learning about what happened in the neighboring universe from his future self, Stark leaned on the railing in silence. He hadn't expected the situation in his future universe to be so dire. At the same time, he was secretly glad that he hadn't taken the matter too seriously, otherwise, by the time Bai Ye discovered it, the remaining half of the population in the other universe might be gone. Now you understand the situation. Without the Infinity Stones, the other half of my universe's life can't return. Although you and I have different experiences, we have the same personality. You should help me, right? This is too big a deal. I'll go ask Bai Ye, Stark said after a moment's hesitation. What? Futures was shocked. He'd already made himself so clear, yet the other party still wanted to report him to Bai Ye. Were they really trying to drive him to his doom? Don't get agitated. Different purposes lead to different outcomes, Stark smiled. It's just borrowing an Infinity Stone. I'll just let him know. With that, Stark casually tagged Deep Blue in the group chat. Will there be any problems with Chapter 184? Playboy, at Deep Blue, I found a parallel future here and I want to borrow the Infinity Stones. Do you want to come and take a look? Stark's message in the chat group caused a huge stir, attracting the attention of other group members. This experience of a parallel future self was too bizarre, and many group members kept asking about it. Stark didn't hide anything, revealing everything he knew, leaving the group members deeply moved. In the villa, Bai Ye, having just dealt with it Chitori, was about to get intimate with Susan and the other women when he was drawn to the message in the chat group. Stark from a parallel universe, Bai Ye paused slightly in taking off his clothes, then silently put them back on, much to Susan's astonishment. What are you doing? Susan and Camilla were incredulous. I'd already taken my pants off, and you just put your clothes back on. There are some things I need to take care of. Bai Ye put on a light blue shirt and gently twisted his neck. I'll make it up to you when I get back. You spent a week in the lab with Reed researching science, and now you have other things to do. Don't you think you're getting busier and busier? Susan complained. I'll do whatever I want. Bai Ye smiled and gently hugged the two women, tapping each of their smooth, delicate cheeks. Remember to wait for me to come back. With that, Bai Ye disappeared from their sight. Inside the White House, less than 10 seconds after Stark sent the message, Bai Ye appeared before them. This is the parallel universe counterpart you were talking about, right? Bai Ye looked at the future Stark. Just being stared at by Bai Ye made future Stark feel extremely uncomfortable and pressured. He quickly said, as you can see, I am Stark from a parallel universe. Before he could finish, Bai Ye interrupted, you want to use PIM particles to travel through time, to obtain the Infinity Stones in a parallel universe similar to the past, and resurrect the half of the life that Thanos wiped out. Now the others should be going to Doctor Strange for the Time Stone, right? Bai Ye said, completely baffled future Stark. Hey, how come you seem to know more than him? Stark looked at the bewildered future Stark and whispered to Bai Ye. Classic movie plot. This is the most famous event, but it was released in 2019. Marvel hadn't reached that stage yet, Bai Ye explained, and Stark immediately understood. In short, the Marvel Universe knowledge that Stark knew was all sent by Kamishima Kana in the group based on Marvel Comics from her modern world. However, Kana Kamishima's modern timeline is less than 2000, and Avengers Endgame wasn't released until 2019, so Tony naturally hadn't caught up on that much of the series. What are you talking about? What Marvel? Future Stark asked, looking at the two in the encrypted call. That's none of your business, Bai Ye replied coldly. He didn't treat them any differently just because they were both Starks, but rather as separate individuals. Simply put, you're here for the Infinity Stones, right? Bai Ye said, then tossed two items at him. Seeing the unknown objects hurtling towards his head, future Stark instinctively raised his hand to catch them, then saw the Space Stone box and the Mind Stone scepter in his hands. So easy, future Stark stared in astonishment at the two treasures in his hands, feeling it was no more difficult than taking something from a shelf. You think this is anything important to me? It's just a useful tool at best, Stark said, seeing his future self's exaggerated reaction. So, wouldn't it have been better to communicate properly? Luckily you stayed, otherwise, Stark didn't finish his sentence, only saying that his entire family, no, his entire universe, in this parallel universe almost perished. I just didn't want to change history. After all, talking to you might alter the established course of history. Future Stark then realized that the history of this universe had long since gone astray, and Bai Ye seemed to know more about future developments than he did. By the way, let me remind you, Bai Ye said, recalling the plot, According to the upcoming plot development, the nebula among you has been switched. It's the past nebula in disguise. Thanos from the past universe will also arrive in your world soon. What? Stark exclaimed in shock. So you might need to snap your fingers twice. According to the original plot, the second one is snapped by you. Bai Ye smiled maliciously. Then he's doomed. Stark's eyes widened. Let's see how hard they try. At least the plot is different now. As long as we stop it sooner, it'll be fine. Future Stark nodded seriously. I understand. Your information is very useful. I'll return the Infinity Stones after I've used them. Okay, good luck. Bai Ye waved his hand. Stark hesitated for a moment, then handed over a scarlet test tube. Return the Infinity Stones as soon as you've solved the problem. Pym particles. Future Stark took them with great joy. He had broken his rule of not accepting anything today. After quickly resolving the matter, Stark watched Future Stark press the button and leave. Stark smiled and said, I thought you would choose to go to his universe with me. What would we do there? I've given him the walkthrough. Do you think I'll mess it up? Bai Ye rolled his eyes. At the moment Stark transcended the universe. In another universe, a man wearing a red and blue tight-fitting uniform looked at a machine in front of him. Someone has triggered the time web. I need to send someone to that universe to investigate. In the future, in the universe of Avengers Endgame, Stark returns from time travel with the Mind Stone and Space Stone. He sees that all his teammates, except Black Widow, have returned safely, though some have damaged clothing and blood stains. Where's Natasha? Stark is startled to see one missing. But he can't worry about that now. In an instant, his suit materializes, his palm firmly aimed at Nebula, and without hesitation, he fires a shot into her chest, knocking the unsuspecting Nebula unconscious. Tony, what are you doing? His teammates exclaim in shock, confused as to why Stark acted. Don't stand there. This Nebula isn't from our universe. She's a spy sent by Thanos, Stark says seriously. Chapter 185 Destroy Your Planet. In the Avengers universe, after quickly revealing Nebula's situation to his teammates and using Friday to access the files in her brain, everyone finally understood the truth. They also learned from Hawkeye that Natasha had died in exchange for the Soul Stone, and a moment of silence fell. Anyway, now that we've collected all 6 Infinity Stones, let's resurrect them according to the original plan, Stark said seriously. Thor, standing beside him, quickly said, I'll fight. Halfway through his sentence, noticing the bloodstains on Rocket Raccoon's shoulder, Thor asked with concern, Are you alright? I'm fine, just a little dizzy. Rocket Raccoon shook his head, looking unwell. I remember you guys went to Asgard to get the ether. How come you're covered in injuries? Hulk asked. I don't know. Asgard in the parallel universe has fallen. It's full of bloodthirsty monsters that kill anyone they see. We rushed back after taking the ether, Thor explained sadly. Everyone then realized that the parallel universe Thor had traveled to was also chaotic. Captain America looked at Raccoon and said, Go inside and bandage your wounds. We'll let you know when we are done. Raccoon, feeling unwell, did an object, nodded slightly, and staggered towards his room. But the further he walked, the hungrier he felt. He had eaten before traveling, but felt no fullness. He could only attribute it to the excessive strain from his injuries. In the living room, after serious discussion, the Hulk was finally chosen to snap his fingers. As the 6 Infinity Stones were simultaneously embedded in Stark's mechanical gauntlet and worn by the Hulk, he snapped his fingers with a ferocious expression. Snap! The next moment, with a snap, the laws of the entire universe were altered, and all those who had died in Thanos' snap were resurrected. Seeing the Hulk fall, Stark's armor sprayed a mist to temporarily suppress the wound. Hawkeye, meanwhile, walked out of the living room expectantly, wanting to call his family to confirm their safety. To avoid any accidents, I'll return the Infinity Stones first, Stark said, pulling out a test tube filled with Pym particles amidst the surprised gazes of the others. When did you get this extra bottle? Captain America asked in surprise. Bai Ye and my past self gave it to me. Now I have to return the stones quickly, Stark smiled, taking the time, space, and mind stones from the Infinity Gauntlet, and activating the Pym particles to travel through time again. To Bai Ye and Stark, the opponent had only disappeared for a moment before returning. Solved. Bai Ye looked at the 3 stones in the opponent's hand and took them directly. Solved successfully. Thanos shouldn't come to our universe. Even if Natasha sacrifices herself, we still have to go save Nebula. Future Stark said regretfully. Oh, Bai Ye nodded indifferently, offering no comment. After returning the 3 stones, Future Stark exchanged a few words and left. Watching the other person disappear, Bai Ye thought they wouldn't return. But the next moment, to Bai Ye and Stark's astonishment, the Future Stark, his armor tattered, reappeared before him. What's going on? Bai Ye exclaimed in surprise. Don't tell me Thanos is back. Stark, standing beside him, also looked at himself in shock, wondering why he was in such a sorry state this time. No, it's not about Thanos, it's about zombies. A hint of fear flashed in Stark's eyes as he said. His armor tattered. The entire Earth is now infected by zombies. Zombies. Stark was stunned. Bai Ye? This plot isn't right. What kind of messed up timeline is this? Bai Ye was dumbfounded. Wasn't it said that Marvel's zombie universe was a closed loop and wouldn't affect other universes? Where did Stark's virus come from? In just an instant, Bai Ye, holding the space stone, emitted a ghostly blue light, and using the White House where they were located as a dividing line, the entire Earth vanished from the solar system in a flash. What happened? Kingpin exclaimed in surprise from next door. He looked up and the entire Earth had vanished, replaced by the dark void of deep space. None of your business. I simply cut Earth off to prevent the virus from spreading, Bai Ye said coldly. Being connected to the zombie universe was a serious matter. Now, tell me what happened, Bai Ye said, turning to Future Stark. Although Stark looked disheveled, he had no wounds. Through Stark's description, Bai Ye learned that Stark had not only come to his own abnormal universe, but also to another mutated timeline infected by the zombie virus. There, Raccoon had been bitten by zombies, and Thor and Raccoon, who had never seen zombie movies, only described being attacked by a group of bloodthirsty creatures. Because they weren't seriously injured, and given the urgency of the Resurrection universe, they overlooked Raccoon's strange behavior. It wasn't until Captain America, who came to visit his teammates, was attacked, and Raccoon, having eaten and drunk his fill and regained his senses, began his plan to eliminate them one by one, that everything began to fall apart. So, your Earth has already fallen. Stark was stunned. This was too tragic. It only took 3 days, and everything is beyond repair. Stark's eyes were filled with despair. Hell, we should be the ones worried now, Bai Ye smiled. The food in one universe wouldn't be enough for them. After they've eaten everything in their universe, this will definitely be their next target. The 2 Starks obviously realized this as well, their expressions changing simultaneously. This was going to be a feast for the entire multiverse. It's alright. Now that you're in this universe, it means that before you went back, time in your universe was relatively still, Bai Ye sneered. A purple light shone, and the Power Stone was already in Bai Ye's hand. Fine purple lines spread all the way to Bai Ye's entire right arm. As long as I eliminate them before they develop, nothing will happen. It's just the destruction of a mere fallen planet, Bai Ye grinned. I never thought I would save the multiverse one day. Bai Ye stretched out his left hand and handed it to Future Stark, saying, give me your time travel device, and I'll go purify your planet now. Chapter 186 Brother, you smell so good. People on Earth were acutely aware of the world's transformation. One moment, the entire northwestern hemisphere was bathed in sunshine, the sun high overhead, its warmth palpable. But the next instant, in a mere blink, everything darkened, as if plunged into the polar night. What's going on? Camilla and Susan, waiting at home, looked up. The sky was pitch black, devoid of moon and sun, only dotted with a few stars. Camilla asked in bewilderment, the sun has disappeared. No, Earth has shifted. This is definitely not the solar system, Susan said confidently, looking at the star map above, which was not aligned with usual. In that instant, the celestial shift plunged half of Earth into chaos, and this unease quickly spread to the other hemisphere. Some tried to contact Stark and the others, but it felt as if they were separated by a galaxy. No matter what they did, they couldn't reach them, and their anxiety grew. Within the solar system, on Earth's original orbit, the White House floated alone in space, enveloped by a force field. Bai Ye looked at the Future Stark before him. His right hand, holding the Power Stone, was covered in fine, deep purple lightning patterns, while his left hand was extended towards the Future Stark. The Future Stark handed over the teleportation device without hesitation, saying, can I ask you for a favor? Everything happened so fast. My wife and daughter might still be alive. Could you bring them back as well, daughter? You mean I have a daughter in the future? And you're putting her in danger? "What are you good for?" Stark glared at him angrily. The future Stark ignored his outburst, his gaze fixed on Bai Ye. Most of the people around him had turned into flesh-eating monsters, and the lives resurrected by the snap of his fingers had mostly become superfluous food. He had lost everything. He couldn't abandon his only remaining family. Therefore, Earth, the responsibilities of a superhero, none of that mattered in the face of family. "No problem, just consider it a favor," Bai Ye said nonchalantly, taking the teleportation device from the other's hand. "By the way, where should your family be hiding right now? You can't expect me to search the entire planet, can you?" "They're in a villa on Wall Street in New York," Future said. "Also, I'm currently in Virginia, being chased by several zombie heroes. Be careful not to get bitten. Whether you can get bitten or not, we'll see," Bai Ye scoffed. The characters in the original zombie hero comics were all censored versions, or rather, their strength was no different from the movie versions. Otherwise, things wouldn't have deteriorated to the point of collapse. None of the items or abilities that could reverse time and change the rules were involved. If the Ancient One, who possessed the Time Stone, had intervened in the plot of this universe, a time loop wouldn't have formed. With a wave of his hand, Bai Ye took out a can of scarlet pim particles from his special storage, his mind filled with countless thoughts. "Speaking of which, in my past life, when I was browsing pornographic websites, I did watch videos with Western zombie themes. I wonder what it's like to play with real zombies. The idea of humans being non-human seems pretty exciting. But never mind, it's too graphic, I can't bring myself to do it." Bai Ye's thoughts wandered, but considering the appearance of this Marvel version of a zombie, even with a good figure, it would still be like the facelessness from Silent Hill, so he decisively rejected it. After all, just thinking about the image was already an eyesore, he simply couldn't bring himself to eat it. Both Stark stared intently at Bai Ye, knowing that for time travel, the outcome was predetermined in the next second. Bai Ye simply pressed the button, and his entire body vanished from their side in an instant. In the zombie version of Avengers Endgame universe, the entire Earth was filled with desolation. The pedestrians wandering the streets were all dressed in tattered clothes, with dull skin and blood-stained mouths that grinned grotesquely, like insatiable demons. From the sky above the city, wisps of smoke could be seen rising from the burning skyscrapers caused by explosions and other reasons, and the screams of those caught by zombies could be heard from time to time. Death and desolation became the main themes here. After eating Captain America's flesh and blood, the zombie version of Rocket Raccoon, who had regained his intelligence, was incredibly destructive. Under a planned, explosive infection, every city on Earth fell in just 3 days. In the alleys of Virginia, zombie versions of the Hulk, Thor, and Ant-Man surrounded Stark. The reason they hadn't immediately headed to space was to turn Stark into a zombie as well, then use the last can of Pym particles in Stark's possession to open a portal to a parallel universe. Then, in the multiverse, they would have an endless supply of flesh and blood. Unexpectedly, despite their meticulous planning, Stark still managed to find an opportunity to escape. Damn it, without the existing Pym particles for reverse engineering, it'll take at least 3 years to replicate another can, the zombie Ant-Man roared angrily. Even more infuriating was why he had been so foolish before his zombification, thinking of returning all the Infinity Stones. Now, without their help, he was completely constrained. The zombie Hulk angrily slammed the zombie Thor into the wall. "It's all your fault for being too slow, ruining the plan." Just as they were discussing, the aroma of human flesh wafted over, making them all freeze. Turning around, they saw a delicacy with its right hand radiating purple light standing before them. In an instant, saliva dripped from their bloodied mouths. It smelled so good, they wanted to take a bite. "Wow, it's an old acquaintance." Bai Ye looked at the zombie Hulk and Thor in front of him and couldn't help but laugh. What a small world. Seeing the feast before him, the Hulk tried to pounce on it, but was instantly blasted away by Thor. "Idiot. How can you eat such a delicacy directly? What if you turn into a zombie?" Thor roared. After saying that, he looked at Bai Ye and grinned maliciously. "Of course, you should keep it as a pet and eat it slowly." "Oh, so you want to keep me as a pet?" Bai Ye gently clenched his right fist and then slowly raised it. Only then did the zombie Thor notice Bai Ye's glowing right arm. The purple light emanating from that fist, carrying an aura of destruction, changed his expression. "Power gem, you are Bai Ye." The Hulk, who had been to Bai Ye's universe before, exclaimed in astonishment, a hint of fear creeping into both of their eyes. "Correct answer. As a reward, it is. Bai Ye raised his right fist to its highest point. Take this punch. Chapter 187 Falling into the Black Hole. Take this punch. With those words, Bai Ye clenched his right fist, gripping the power gem, and slammed it down. A blinding purple light erupted, instantly illuminating half the planet. The infinite power, representing destruction and annihilation, amplified Bai Ye's unparalleled physique many times over. Boom! At the moment of impact, every living thing standing on the ground felt the entire planet tremble violently. The three zombies closest to Bai Ye, Thor, Hulk, and Ant-Man, were instantly annihilated into dust. A terrifying destructive force, almost on par with a nuclear bomb, spread outwards in massive quantities. The purple light swept outwards like a raging tsunami. Everything it touched was broken down into elementary particles, then propelled outwards. Bai Ye's location was in a vacuum, devoid of matter. His body was enveloped in the light of the power gem. Protected by infinite power, every particle within his body was impervious to evil, as solid as a rigid body in physics. At this moment, no natural phenomenon in the universe, not even a supernova explosion or the devouring of a black hole, could shake him. Neither the strong nuclear force, the weak nuclear force, nor gravity and electromagnetism could alter Bai Ye's shape, size, or position. His black hair, tinged with purple light, fluttered behind him without wind, like an ancient Greek god of destruction and annihilation. He silently watched the purple waves of destruction before him engulf everything, his expression unmoved, fulfilling his purpose in coming to this universe. He had come to this universe with a heart of destruction, and naturally would not hold back. One Earth would perish, but countless others in the universe would be saved. At this rate, Virginia was expected to be obliterated in 1 minute. Within 10 minutes, the entire continent of America would be squeezed into the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. 1 hour later, the entire Earth would be shattered into pieces, just like the ending of every episode of Ultraman Leo. However, this wasn't foolproof. Even a single head of those zombies could survive and harm people. So, before leaving, he planned to deliver one last punch, completely pulverizing the entire Earth into elementary particles, ensuring no evil was left behind. New York, is it? Bai Ye remembered Stark's earlier instructions and created a portal, stepping inside. Meanwhile, in a villa district on Wall Street in New York City. Mommy, when can we see Daddy? I'm a little scared. Hearing the roars of the zombie march outside, Morgan Stark nervously clung to his mother's neck. Don't be afraid, Daddy's out there protecting us. He'll be back soon. Pepper, feeling the tremors of the ground, was uneasy. She gently comforted her daughter while simultaneously pulling back a crack in the curtains. The sight outside terrified her. To the naked eye, a gigantic purple mushroom cloud rose into the sky, sweeping in all directions, rapidly expanding at a visible speed. Pepper felt her legs go weak, nearly collapsing to the ground, her right hand quickly grabbing the wardrobe beside her. Pepper and Morgan, right, a calm voice sounded behind them, startling them. Ah, Pepper exclaimed, turning around to see a handsome man radiating a faint purple glow looking at them. Who are you? Pepper was wary of the stranger. However, Bai Ye was dressed neatly, completely unlike a zombie, so she secretly breathed a sigh of relief while remaining cautious. Stark asked me to come find you. As you can see, the entire Earth has fallen. He's in another universe asking me to destroy this Earth and take you away, Bai Ye explained simply. Did Tony send you to save us? Pepper asked excitedly. Of course. Earth is about to be destroyed, so come with me, Bai Ye said, then, seeing their hesitation, continued, or do you insist on staying and waiting for me to leave so we can perish with Earth? No, please take us away from here. Pepper nodded immediately, having no other choice. After politely obtaining their consent, Bai Ye reached out and sucked them into virtual space. After taking the two in, Bai Ye peered through the window at the wondering female zombie, a look of disgust on his face. Although she desperately wanted to attack him, he couldn't bring himself to do it. Otherwise, given the nature of zombies, there were many ways he could have done things. Meanwhile, the zombie heroes and villains weren't having such an easy time. What the hell is this? In the flesh and blood canteen, munching on bloody food to stave off hunger, Zombie Rocket Raccoon watched the purple shockwaves sweeping across the sky in utter panic. The other zombies eating nearby were equally bewildered by the overwhelming power. Don't linger. Before that storm hits, come with me onto the spaceship. Let's get somewhere far away, Zombie Rocket Raccoon quickly called out, then shouldered his gun and ran outside. The other zombie heroes immediately followed. In a frantic sprint, they quickly boarded the spaceship. Seated in the pilot's seat, before the shockwave could engulf the spaceship, he activated it, flames erupting from its tail as it soared into the sky. At full power, its speed steadily increasing, the spaceship broke free of the atmosphere in mere seconds, heading into outer space. In less than a minute, it would traverse the wormhole, crossing tens of light years. HMPH, trying to escape, Bai Ye also noticed the small airship accelerating on the horizon, sneered, and clenched his fist, unleashing the full power of the purple power gem in his palm. In an instant, a strange gravitational force emanated from Bai Ye's palm and rapidly expanded. A purple sphere the size of an apple was lifted up and then expanded outwards exponentially. In the sky, Raccoon, piloting his spaceship, looked at the wormhole so close at hand, wanting to enter but finding the spaceship's speed had stopped. What the hell is this? 1 million horsepower nuclear fusion propulsion, go, Raccoon roared, increasing the power to maximum, but still strangely found the spaceship not only not moving forward, but also slowly retreating. What is that? Eagle Eye, the zombie behind them, cried out in alarm. The raccoon turned around and saw a black hole rapidly expanding. Within the event horizon of a black hole, space-time warps, and even light cannot escape. And now, the event horizon of this black hole behind the spaceship had already enveloped the entire Earth, rapidly expanding towards them. So their spaceship was falling into a black hole. Chapter 188 Gotham Commoners. In the zombie version of Avengers Endgame, the event horizon of a black hole has completely swallowed Earth and continues to expand outwards. To ensure this crisis is completely contained, Bai Ye decides not to let even a single atom escape. The zombie version of Rocket Raccoon pilots his spaceship with all his might, but he cannot escape the ever-increasing gravitational pull behind him. Under the powerful pull, their bodies gradually disintegrate and shatter, finally falling into the eternal abyss in despair. Bai Ye, wielding the Power Stone, floats in space, silently watching the ever-expanding black hole in the distance. It is predicted that within the next 10 to 20 years, the entire solar system will be dragged into the abyss of the black hole. Subsequently, this black hole will continue to grow and compete with a black hole at the center of the galaxy. However, this is all a long time from now. Theoretically, before the black hole devours everything, the universe will have already fallen into oblivion. This should be fine now. Bai Ye stares at the black hole in front of him, gently presses the time-space travel device, and his entire figure completely disappears from this universe. Bai Ye's repeated time-space travel has finally attracted the attention of a certain organization. Who on earth is traversing the universe so casually? Don't they know this will cause chaos in the multiverse? A man in a red and blue Spider-Man suit complained. While complaining, he also transmitted the coordinates of the zombie universe. Soon, another man in a Spider-Man suit received the mission and went to investigate. Oh, another mission. Let me see. A blonde young man in a Spider-Man suit looked at the device on his wrist. Is the location Earth and Universe 593,830? No problem, I'll go investigate. With that, the blonde boy lightly pressed a button on the device and instantly traveled through time. At this moment, in the White Knight Zombie Avengers Endgame universe, in the location of New York City, a black hole occupied the area. The next moment, a strange figure appeared out of thin air. No reaction, no emotion, no feeling. In just one plank's time, this time-traveling body was fused into part of the black hole by powerful gravity, utterly dead. Time travel is risky, crossing it requires caution. What happened? We lost contact in just a moment. In the interdimensional organization, Spider-Man looked at his subordinate who had lost contact with him in shock. Then his expression behind the mask immediately became serious. Although he didn't know what had happened, he immediately treated it as a major emergency. He prepared to personally go and, together with the organization's professional team, go to that universe's Earth to investigate. 10 minutes later, after a series of attempts, the third reconnaissance team member roared, "Damn it! Who put a black hole at the time travel point?" Relying on the time travel equipment to return to the White House, the two Starks asked simultaneously, "How did it go?" "It's alright. It took a few minutes to destroy Earth, and I found your wife and daughter," Bai Ye said calmly, releasing Morgan and Pepper from the illusory space. "Potts, Morgan," the future Stark rushed forward with joy and hugged his daughter and wife. Thank goodness they had survived. Watching the family reunion beside him, Stark's gaze mainly fell on his daughter, looking at her with a mixture of emotion and envy. As expected of his daughter, she was so adorable. He looked at Bai Ye and said, "Their universe's Earth has been destroyed. What should we do now? What should we do?" "Just arrange a position for him and let him settle down here," Bai Ye casually instructed. This. Tony, the younger version of Dad, at this moment, Potts and Morgan also gaped, staring in shock at the younger version of Stark before them. They were momentarily confused. "He's the younger version of me in this universe. We might all be living here from now on," the future Stark explained to the two. "This is yours now," Bai Ye said, gently patting Stark's shoulder. "If Earth wasn't brought back to normal soon, everything would descend into chaos." The next moment, the Space Stone and the Power Stone worked together. Bai Ye easily pulled the entire planet, which had already strayed far from the solar system, back, and seamlessly reconnected it after completely eliminating the microorganisms within the White House. Almost simultaneously, the phones of everyone in the White House rang incessantly, bombarding their communication channels. As for Bai Ye, he returned to the villa as previously agreed. Susan and Camilla had been waiting for a long time. Seeing Bai Ye return and everything back on track, their expressions relaxed. "You left just now to deal with this?" Susan asked, pointing to the sun that was now hanging high in the sky. "Of course not," Bai Ye shook his head slightly. "It was just an accident. But your emperor just saved the universe again, so now is the time to enjoy it." With that, Bai Ye smiled and stripped all three of them naked in a second. Commoner from the city of Sin joins the chat group. At this moment, a new message appeared in Bai Ye's ear. Since Bai Ye's chat group upgraded to level 2, it had a system-managed function. This allowed the system to decide which people to add, and Bai Ye hadn't paid much attention to the new member list. Unexpectedly, after these days of quiet management, someone had suddenly joined. But Bai Ye ignored it, muted the chat group, and with a whoosh, grabbed the two women and pounced on the bed. He didn't answer, but others in the chat group would naturally answer the questions. At this moment, all the other group members looked curiously at the new man in front of them. His level was only 0, he seemed to be just an ordinary person. "Kimijimakana, welcome newcomer." "Gentleman Sword, welcome newcomer." "Master Luo, welcome newcomer." In a humble home in Gotham City, a middle-aged man nervously stared at the welcome messages scrolling across the chat panel in front of him. After a moment's hesitation, he sent a message with slight awkwardness. "Commoner of Sin City, hello. What is this chat group for?" "Kimijimakana, this is a communication group connecting all worlds. We are all from different universes, and we are fortunate to have joined here." "Kimijimakana, newcomers should first read the group instructions, then the Purple Cloud Divine Skill, then the Chakra Refining Method, and finally the Everyone Has Skill Practice 4.0 version. As long as you follow the steps, you can reach level 1 within a month." Following the instructions in the group, the middle-aged man opened the contents of each file one by one. The more he read, the more rapid his breathing became, and his heart pounded violently. He knew that he might be saying goodbye to his ordinary life of the past 30-odd years. Chapter 189 Farewell to the Gods. After 2 days and nights, Bai Ye finally emerged from the arduous battle. Looking at the scene before him, initially just 2 people, but now 4 unconscious in the final showdown, he scratched his head in bewilderment. It was rather absurd to use the Space Stone to pull others out of the heat of battle. "I remember someone joining the chat group before," Bai Ye recalled, turning his attention back to the chat group and reviewing the messages he'd skipped over in the past 2 days. The newcomer had already become familiar with the group members and was actively engaging in the conversation. However, his past worldly wisdom led him to speak in a subservient tone, fawning over everyone in the chat. Good grief, isn't this just a middle-aged office worker? Bai Ye wondered. Why would the chat group suddenly add someone like this? He was utterly unremarkable. Even Kamishima Kana and Master Luo were practically supporting characters in anime. So, is it because of the City of Sin? Bai Ye focused his observations on this newcomer's world. After scrolling through for a while, he learned that the newcomer's name was Bloom Gavin, and his city was Gotham City. Oh, so DC has come too, Bai Ye suddenly realized, so he came from this godforsaken place. In the group chat, Gavin was humbly trying to please every member, hoping to become known among the big shots. He was very familiar with this behavior. When he used to fawn over his superiors, he was much more blatant. Fawning over superiors was not as good as fawning over group members. At least everyone in the group was incredibly powerful, and if you fawned over them, you might get some benefits. Fawning over superiors would only make them think it was their due, and wouldn't give you a single penny of a raise. Deep Blue, at commoners of Sin City, are you short of money? What's going on? The admin sent me a message. Bloomgavin stared blankly at Bai Ye's sudden message in the group chat, not understanding why he asked such a question all of a sudden. That same day, he tried out the Everyone Has Merit Practice 4.0 inches that Bai Ye had posted in the group, and successfully extracted energy from his body. Coupled with the descriptions from every member of the group, none of them spoke ill of the administrator, which solidified his belief in Deep Blue's power. After much deliberation, Bloomgavin still sent out a detailed account of his current situation. Commoner of Sin City, Senior Deep Blue, I'm currently working at a subsidiary of Wayne Enterprises in Gotham City. My wife is at home raising our 3 children alone. Our current salaries allow us to live a relatively normal life. Bloomgavin didn't understand Bai Ye's meaning, so he described his entire situation in hundreds of words, but this long and tedious explanation left Bai Ye speechless. Deep Blue, who asked you that? I asked you if you need money right now. If you do, I'll send you a few boxes of gold later. Commoner of Sin City, how can I accept this? I haven't done anything, I'm unworthy of such praise. Deep Blue, hey, why are you being so indecisive? You're already in the chat group, you're not even in the same league as everyone else. Deep Blue, if I keep being stingy like before, what will people think of me if they know I'm in the same chat group as Bai Ye? Deep Blue, one word, do you want it or not? If you do, I'll send you a box of gold scraps right now. So you don't have to go through the hassle of cutting them. Bai Ye's tone didn't hide his annoyance at Bai Ye's hypocrisy, but the content was incredibly heartwarming. Bloomgavin felt he had never heard such heartwarming words in his life, and hurriedly replied in the group that he needed it. Deep Blue, send me the world coordinates quickly, stop dawdling and wasting time. 3 seconds later, Bloomgavin watched as the long-haired man placed a box of gold scraps in front of him and said, next time, if you want any benefits, just say so. We're all in the same group. I'm leaving now. As soon as he finished speaking, he watched Bai Ye open the chat panel, choose to return, and leave this universe once again. Bloomgavin felt a little unreal, realizing that Bai Ye had really only come to deliver gold. He subconsciously pinched his arm. It hurt, it wasn't a dream. He'd only been licking the administrator's boots for 2 days and already achieved his goal? Wait, he hadn't even licked the administrator's boots yet. He crouched down and opened the unsecured briefcase in front of him. Inside was a heavy, gleaming gold. Bloomgavin couldn't help but unconsciously curl his lips into a smile. He was rich. Seriously, this is probably the most fussy group member I've ever had, Bai Ye complained to Uchiha Sasuke after returning from the DC universe. He'd actually wanted to visit the DC universe himself, but he had some things to take care of now. Those people we imprisoned before should still be here, right? Bai Ye asked, looking at the newly revitalized and vibrant Konoha village. Sasuke nodded and said, of course they're still there. Under your orders, those reincarnators have been under strict guard. But according to you, they'll be teleported back by the God of War soon. It's alright, I have this here. Bai Ye raised his hand, revealing a scarlet eyeball, and waved it in front of Sasuke. The Mangekyo Sharingan, which one is this? Sasuke asked in surprise. I took it from that old man Danzo, Bai Ye said. He planned to use Kido Matsukami on the brain of one of the reincarnators, and then take him to the God of War's space. But speaking of which, have you found any trace of Itachi Uchiha? Bai Ye looked at Sasuke. After all, Itachi Uchiha was the initial target, and he hadn't found any trace of him after searching all over the place. We've found and arrested him. He didn't resist at all, Sasuke said in a slightly somber tone. I plan to put him on trial after I've resurrected everyone in the clan who was killed. Alright, it's up to you. Byakuya had no objection. Take someone with me and use this eye to cast Kido Matsukami on those reincarnators. Sasuke nodded slowly, then walked out of the house with Byakuya. On the way, seeing Byakuya return, both ordinary people and ninjas greeted him nervously. Byakuya responded to the prettier ones, depending on his mood. Arriving at the newly built Hokage building with Sasuke, Uchiha Sasuke found Kakashi and said, Kakashi-sensei, this is for you. After you install it in your right eye, go on a mission with Byakuya, the Mangekyo Sharingan. Kakashi looked at the other Sharingan in front of him in surprise. He felt that his already limited chakra was about to be drained by these 2 Sharingan. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. we warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 190, Becoming a Reincarnator. After much hesitation, Kakashi didn't replace his right eye with Shisame's main Gekkai Sharingan, but instead replaced Obito's. After all, the Hokage's eyes are notoriously easy to swap. A simple one-click replacement is no problem. He could just switch them back after this mission was complete. There wouldn't be any issues. Bai Ye stood before the reincarnator Tate as usual. Seeing Bai Ye approach, Tate gave a wry smile and said, "Mr. Bai Ye, is there anything else you want to ask? Or perhaps you want to silence us?" "Of course not. I'm here to let you go back directly," Bai Ye said with a slight smile. "But before that, you need to make a promise." "Oh, what promise?" "I promise I'll do whatever I can," Tate said firmly. "Nothing much, just that after you go back, you should immediately bring me to that space," Bai Ye said, causing Tate's expression to stiffen. "My lord, your strength is too great," Tate subtly reminded him, glancing at Bai Ye's current attributes as he spoke. Name: Bai Ye. Strength, Speed, Defense, Spirit, Recovery, Mid-Tier 5 Energy, Beginner Tier 5 Special Abilities. Overall rating, Mid-Tier 5. Reincarnators have always been known for their ability to cross different worlds, frantically plundering resources and abilities, and rapidly increasing their strength. But under Tate's witness, in just 1 month, this monster jumped directly from the high Tier 4 to the mid-Tier 5. With such a speed of growth, who is truly the reincarnator? And with such immense power, how much would he, at his current beginner Tier 3 rating, have to pay to bring the other back? "It's alright, I'll help you," Bai Ye smiled and handed a scarlet test tube to the man's face. The next second, when the test results came out, the man was instantly stunned. Detected Tier 12 mid-tier item, Pim Particles, effect? This, Tate was dumbfounded. This was actually a cosmic level item. Could this be produced in a world with its current power level? When the time comes, just go back to your space and trade this thing. You'll have everything you need, Bai Ye said, handing over the Pim Particles in his hand. Tate, who had lost both hands and feet, looked at the Pim Particles offered to him with greed in his eyes. Without hesitation, he opened his mouth and snatched them like a dog. "Don't worry, Master, I will definitely bring you here," Tate swore indistinctly, still holding the Pim Particles in his mouth. "Of course I believe you," Bai Ye smiled and stepped aside, revealing Kakashi behind him, his left eye bloodshot, staring at him. Instantly, blood flowed from Kakashi's eye socket. The thought of bringing Bai Ye out was firmly etched into Tate's mind, impossible to shake off. Bai Ye stood up and gently patted Kakashi's shoulder, saying, "I'll go out first. Attach the mechanical limbs around him. As for the others who are imprisoned, don't leave a single one alive." "Yes, Mr. Bai." Kakashi covered his left eye and nodded earnestly. After Bai Ye left, Kakashi, following Tate's instructions, installed all of Tate's mechanical limbs and then entered the various prison cells, killing the other reincarnators one by one. Half an hour later, as the return time arrived, a white light descended from the sky and took him away, but Bai Ye knew that Tate would return. He spent another day playing in Konoha, and at noon the next day, a white light descended from the sky, and Tate, who had returned, came to find him. Bai Ye looked down at the man before him. His face was flushed, indicating he had profited handsomely. However, this didn't matter. As long as he could complete the assigned task, he didn't mind. "Sir, your request has been fulfilled," Tate said respectfully. The next moment, Bai Ye was slightly taken aback, and an image flashed through his mind. Reincarnator number 63628 invites you to become a reincarnator. Do you accept, yes or no? Looking at the additional options before him, Bai Ye gently clicked yes, and a large amount of information immediately flooded his mind. This is a trial ground of the multiverse, randomly capturing intelligent life from planets to become reincarnators. Each reincarnator will experience various reincarnation missions and gradually grow stronger through constant battles. At the same time, various voices rang in his mind. You have chosen to become a reincarnator. Your number is assigned based on the strength ranking of your planetary faction. Based on your mid-level 5th tier strength, you have been assigned number 13. Numbers refresh daily. Please check them yourself. Please enter the main god space within 3 days to complete your first mission. Failure to do so will result in elimination. Goodness, Does this number mean there are only 12 people ahead of me? Bai Ye frowned slightly, looking at Tate and asking, is your reincarnation space so weak? There are only 12 people stronger than me. No, sir, it's just that my planet is weak, Tate explained simply to Bai Ye. Only then did Bai Ye learn that the so-called God space capturing reincarnators from planets involved selecting a single planet from the universe and directly converting all adult intelligent life on that planet into reincarnators. There were countless other planets with such reincarnators in different universes. It was just that Tate and his companion's planet had only recently been converted, so its interaction with other worlds was still limited, and its strongest inhabitant was currently only level 6. No wonder, Bai Ye realized. He was wondering why none of the many reincarnators knew the plot. It was because of the other planet, not because the God space was incompetent. As the requirement for Bai Ye to join the God space was fulfilled, the effect of Kido Matsukumi in Tate's mind quietly faded. After regaining his senses, Tate was utterly astonished, not understanding what he had been doing, actually pulling this plot character into the God space. Bai Ye gave the panicked Tate a meaningful look and softly invoked the virtual panel in his mind. The next moment, 3 virtual borders appeared simultaneously in his vision, the attribute panel, the chat group, and the God space, crowding together like those blatant pornographic ads on a pirated website. With a flick of his wrist, he clicked the return button, and in the next instant, Bai Ye's figure vanished into the God space. Before him lay a bustling plaza, densely packed with people of all races. These people, with their diverse clothing, appearances, and skin colors, moved about and chatted, occasionally casting their gazes towards the golden curtain on the horizon, lost in thought. Chapter 191 Entering One Punch Man. Entering the main God space, Bai Ye's gaze lingered on the surrounding scenery with keen interest. Around him, lights flickered constantly, and figures moved in and out. He could simply look up and let his consciousness merge with a golden curtain in the sky, displaying various different mission worlds for him to choose from. With just a glance, he saw worlds such as Sword World, Giant World, and Cannibal World, among others. However, there were limitations. According to the main God space, based on the average strength of the world's powerful beings, high-level reincarnations could not enter lower-level reincarnation spaces to prevent the abuse and slaughter of weaker individuals. Given this, the choices were limited. Bai Ye quickly glanced around and found only a handful of worlds available for him. His curious and innocent gaze immediately attracted the attention of the surrounding crowd. His long hair and handsome appearance seemed too strange for such a natural development. It was truly odd. This brother's new here, right? A somewhat thin man approached with a lewd grin. Bai Ye nodded, not denying it. Looks like you just came of age and joined the space. You must have been strictly controlled by your parents before. I know where the hottest red light district is around. How about I take you there? It's your first time, let's be friends, it's on me. Oh, Bai Ye looked at the thin man with a strange expression. He guessed that the man probably thought he was the son of some big shot and was trying to get close to him. No need, I have some things to do, so I won't trouble you. Not wanting to refuse a smiling face, Bai Ye politely waved his hand. After being rejected, the man didn't press the issue but generously said that he could come back to him if he wanted to next time. As he walked down from the slightly crowded reincarnation plaza, the surrounding chatter reached Bai Ye's ears. Did you hear? A level 12 item was auctioned off for an astronomical price yesterday. A level 12 item. Where did it come from? And the strongest on the leaderboard is only level 6, who could afford that? I don't know, but I heard it was Russia that bought it with a large amount of reward points and side quest rewards. But compared to a level 12 item, that price is still a steal. Discussions about the PIM particles from yesterday filled the air, giving Bai Ye a general understanding of the power structure within this God space. Simply put, because all the adult life forms on the planet were pulled into the reincarnation, the original power structures remained, still divided by nation-states. However, individual strength still played a significant role within their respective factions. All beings at level 5 and above possessed almost absolute power within their nations. For example, that powerful level 6 being was currently Russia's uncrowned king, a figure of absolute control. And now, with the sudden addition of this unknown powerhouse, Bai Ye, everyone below the next 12 had been demoted by one place. All forces tensed up, trying to find out which country had suddenly produced such a powerful figure. A nation-based reincarnation force? Interesting. Bai Ye strolled around the God space. The atmosphere wasn't as tense as he'd imagined, because the god didn't force anyone to complete missions. As long as you completed your first reincarnation mission, you could stay here forever. The god space's intention was clear. There were so many reincarnations on a planet, you could just lie around and wait until other reincarnation kings grew stronger and trampled on you. After wandering around for a while, Bai Ye returned to the God's Plaza where missions were accepted, ready to complete his first mission. Looking up, Bai Ye browsed through the available dungeons. Due to his immense strength, there were only a few dungeons to choose from, so he could easily select one: Great Voyage World, 43/50 players, Ghostly Legends World, 23/40, Heroes vs. Monsters World, 54/55 players, Eastern Immortal Gods and Monsters World, 45/60 players. After browsing through them, Bai Ye's gaze immediately fell on the third-ranked Heroes vs. Monsters World. Since this number was just enough to meet the teleportation requirement, Reincarnator number 13 requests entry into Heroes vs. Monsters World to complete the first mission. Mission number meets entry requirements. Entry approved. Loading preliminary mission information for this world. 2 messages appeared in Bai Ye's mind, followed by a dizzying sensation, and an explanation flooded into his brain. To combat the increasing number of powerful monsters on the planet, and to commemorate the nameless hero who saved his grandson, the wealthy man army established a hero association through fundraising. Based on combat ability and social contribution, heroes are ranked into 4 levels, S, A, B, and C. Monsters are ranked into 5 levels based on their destructive power: God, Dragon, Demon, Tiger, and Wolf. Reincarnators are requested to choose to become a member of one of these levels and strictly uphold the image of their chosen faction, contributing to its glory and prosperity. Main quest, factional division, quest brief. Reincarnators are requested to choose between protection and destruction. Quest requirements: join the Hero Association or enter the wanted list within 10 days. Quest reward: reincarnators will be able to cultivate the power system of their chosen world. So this is the world. Bai Ye opened his eyes and saw that the house he was in was filled with strangely shaped men and women, exactly 55 including himself. However, everyone was studying the quest, and no one spoke yet. Who are you? I've never heard of you before. At this moment, a man covered in mechanical armor turned his gaze towards him and spoke the first words in the room. This also attracted the attention of those around them. Indeed, only reincarnators of similar strength could join this world, and the minimum level required was at least level 3. To reach that level, one's reputation should have already spread among various forces, so theoretically, no strangers should join. Unless, most people present thought of a possibility and subconsciously narrowed their eyes. Bai Ye showed a humble expression and said, "My number is 13. Now, please have someone with a higher number stand up. I want to see who has surpassed me. By the way, is the number 1 in this world? I'd like to spar with him first." Upon hearing this, everyone's expression changed slightly, and their gazes fell on a muscular man in the corner. Chapter 192 Killing Bai Ye is like slaughtering a dog. As Bai Ye spoke, the atmosphere instantly turned serious. Everyone's gaze, except his, seemed to drift towards the man sitting in the corner. In the corner of the room, a burly man with a muscular build sat imposingly. Hearing Bai Ye's words, he raised an eyebrow, looking at Bai Ye with a fierce and domineering gaze, seemingly probing his identity. He was none other than Ivanov, the nominal number 1 on the planet. Tense. Everyone watched Bai Ye with bated breath. This young man was reckless, daring to challenge the number 1 emperor. I understand that young people are ambitious and eager to get ahead, but you seem to have chosen the wrong opponent. Ivanov stood up, his over 2-meter height exuding an overwhelming aura as he looked down at Bai Ye. Judging from your appearance, you seem to be from the Asian side. Did your backing tell you not to provoke me? Oh, so you're the number 1 ranked Russian black bear. Sorry, I was a bit rude to name you. Bai Ye walked forward without any tension, staring at the bald, muscular man in front of him. You're ranked number 1, so you must be very strong. How about we have a spar? Looking at the thick bald head on the other's head, Bai Ye subconsciously asked, I heard from passers-by on the street that you implanted Saiyan blood in the key world and trained diligently for 3 years. But where's your hair, Ivanov? Bai Ye's words made Ivanov's face show subtle dissatisfaction. This young man seemed quite arrogant. Although the mission worlds are randomly selected, and theoretically, anyone who meets the requirements can enter, it's clear that teaming up is more advantageous. Therefore, the selection of mission worlds is mostly a tacit agreement where each national power chooses a separate world instance. The instance where this Russian number 1 is located is naturally mostly filled with his powerful subordinates. Other members nearby wanted to speak up and reprimand him, but Ivanov stopped them. He said fiercely, "Since you want to spar, then let's do it here. I'll try my best to teach you a small lesson without damaging this building. Don't worry, as a senior, I'll let you make the first move. Let me make the first move? I'll be careful to restrain myself." Bai Ye waved his hand casually. As the conversation between the two progressed to this point, the surrounding people were already expectant, wanting to witness the first person to make a move. At this moment, Ivanov frowned, because he felt a strange field emanating from the young man in front of him and spreading outwards. Although he didn't know what it was for, he still became secretly vigilant, no longer showing his previous contempt. "Get ready, I'm going to go first." Bai Ye raised his right fist, but halfway through his sentence, a look of surprise immediately appeared on his face. Before him, Ivanov, who had agreed to let him make the first move, was already enveloped in a layer of white energy. His right fist swung fiercely towards his face. Ivanov remained expressionless, but inwardly he roared, "Haha, didn't expect that, did you? Fighting is for victory. See you in the next life, kid." In an instant, Ivanov's right fist swung out, enveloped in powerful energy, with enough force to crush a 100-meter-long street, aimed at Bai Ye's face, but it was immediately caught firmly by a slender, long right hand, unable to advance an inch. Going all out from the start? A smart choice. A slight smile appeared on Bai Ye's face as he looked at the stunned Ivanov, as if he were the one being challenged. The next moment, the sparring between the two officially began. Boom 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 boom. From the perspective of the onlookers, the two figures turned into afterimages, frantically exchanging blows. Each punch they exchanged could flatten the street beneath their feet, but strangely, it didn't cause the slightest ripple. Aside from the visceral impact of each punch, the resulting gusts of wind, and the deafening roar, nothing else affected the surroundings. It was as if the two were on a completely different level from the world at large. Boom boom, Bai Ye and Ivanov exchanged two more punches, then both retreated 2 steps, stopping their fight. In total, their entire exchange lasted only 3 seconds, yet they had already exchanged tens of thousands of punches. The surrounding crowd was already stunned, their mouths agape. This newcomer had fought to draw with the world's number 1 expert. Where did this sword god of Shilly Slope come from? Even though Ivanov wasn't using his full strength, the young man seemed completely at ease. Clearly neither of them was taking it seriously. "Not bad, young man. In that sparring session, I used 70% of my strength. You were able to use this mysterious force field to counter my own and hold your own against me. You're already among the top 3 experts on this planet." Ivanov's expression was calm and composed, no longer somber, but instead he smiled like a respected senior. "Oh, to be able to withstand 30% of my power in close combat, you should be proud of yourself," Bai Ye said calmly with a smile, a remark that immediately darkened Ivanov's face. Gently slipping his hand into his pocket, Bai Ye addressed the group. "I've assessed your strength. Since that's the case, I'll go complete my mission." "Hey, wait, friend," a middle-aged white man approached. "With your strength, why not join us and form a team? You can support each other then." Faced with the white man's offer, Bai Ye merely sized him up, a hint of disdain for a nobody flashing across his face before politely shaking his head in refusal. With a light leap, Bai Ye jumped off the building, landing on the ground. After gazing into the distance, he headed off in one direction. As Bai Ye left, the other lone wolf reincarnators not on Ivanov's side also departed. "Your Majesty, why didn't you stop him earlier?" After the reincarnators from different factions had all left, a subordinate asked. Ivanov paused for a moment before saying, "I really did use 70% of my normal strength just now. As for him, although he's only level 5, he seems to have no weaknesses in any aspect. Without using my trump card, I'm not confident I can capture him for now." His words caused a slight pause in the surrounding air, and everyone stared at Ivanov in shock. "What if we use the item we just bought?" another subordinate couldn't help but ask. Ivanov smiled contemptuously. "That level 12 item is for crucial moments. He's not worth wasting on. Otherwise, if I were in a good mood, I could kill him like a dog." Chapter 193 Infiltrating the Hero Association. Z City. Bai Ye walked alone down a somewhat deserted street, hands in his pockets. The Saiyan bloodline and key system from Dragon Ball, plus physical enhancement. Reflecting on the previous battle, Bai Ye silently wondered. His opponent's physique was clearly enhanced. Otherwise, given the Saiyan struggles against 10 times gravity in their early stages, and the fact that even Super Saiyans only trained with 1,000 tons of weight for close combat, he would have been sent flying to the next city by a single punch. But this made sense, as the main characteristic of reincarnators is complementarity, using different training systems to create a well-rounded warrior. Like the battle just now, where the two fought purely with physical strength, Bai Ye actually held a considerable advantage. Due to the close distance, his opponent couldn't possibly charge up his ki and unleash a beam attack from a distance. After all, his ultimate attack's cooldown wasn't finished, and Bai Ye would immediately interrupt it the moment he assumed this stance, while the instantaneous beam attack wouldn't be powerful enough. This number one is quite strong. To take him down, without using technology, we'll need to drag it out for at least 3 or 4 hours, waiting for our physical abilities to increase 2 or 3 times during the all-out battle before we're confident of victory. However, by then, the ground beneath our feet might be blown away, and we might even attract another bald guy. When we face that bald guy, even with technology, we might have to die several times before we can overpower him, Bai Ye thought to himself, without much worry on his face. He activated the mission given by the main god, to integrate interfaction. There was no mention of any punishment, but there would be a reward upon completion. I'll join the Hero Association first. At least there are some decent-looking guys there, Bai Ye, a senior member of the Beauty Association, thought to himself. In an instant, his body transformed into a streak of light and disappeared from the spot. Since he was going to join the association, he naturally had to uphold justice. At this moment, in Z City, which had not yet been destroyed, a giant Tyrannosaurus Rex, over 10 meters tall and covered in blue scales, stomped its paws on the street. With each step, the earth trembled violently, creating a mild earthquake. Roar, with the dinosaur's roar, a torrent of scorching flame erupted from its mouth, easily burning through a 100-meter-tall building in seconds. Around it, panicked crowds screamed in terror as they fled. Help, oh no. Where's the hero? My house. We donated so much money, what have these heroes protected? In an instant, the surrounding streets erupted in chaos, but the next moment, a crisp, bloody explosion rang out. Everyone instinctively turned to look, only to see a handsome man with long, flowing hair reaching his waist, descending from the sky. With a single punch, he smashed a 10-meter-tall blue Tyrannosaurus Rex into a bloody pulp. Standing atop the dinosaur's mangled head, Bai Ye, his clothes flowing, remained unstained by blood, like a celestial being descended to earth. But the moment he spoke, everyone felt disillusioned. After defeating the Tyrannosaurus Rex in one move, Bai Ye turned to the surrounding crowd and said with an incredibly shrewd tone, "Hey, what are you standing there for? Take a picture. Otherwise how can we prove I killed it? You? Who are you, hero?" A girl stepped out from the crowd, her face slightly flushed as she looked at Bai Ye. She felt this man was even more handsome than Sweet Mask. Me? I'm just starting out as a hero, I haven't even decided on a title yet, Bai Ye said, looking down at the bloody mess at his feet, and said with a sigh, how about calling me Killer, Killer? The people present subconsciously murmured the name. Yes, from now on, my title will be Killer, Bai Ye said nonchalantly, then used his field of effect to isolate himself, sat on the mess, and waited for the Hero Association to handle the situation. A short while later, 2 men in suits rushed over. Looking at the slain dinosaur and the burned-out building in the distance, they immediately judged that this was at least a tiger-level monster. Then, one of the thinner men looked at Bai Ye and said, "Excuse me, this hero seems unfamiliar. What is your title? You can call me the Nemesis." I haven't officially joined the Hero Association yet. Bai Ye sat cross-legged, propping his head up with his right hand, looking at the 2 men before him. So, I would like to ask you to open a special channel for me so I can join the Hero Association. You want to join the Hero Association? Of course, we welcome you. The 2 men look somewhat troubled. However, we are small and weak, and we don't have the ability to make decisions for the association on our own. Their meaning was very simple. Who the hell are you? Killing a tiger-level monster and demanding special privileges? Your strength is simply insufficient. Tisk. Bai Ye looked up at the sky in dissatisfaction, wondering what to do if he wanted to join the Monster Association, but those monsters were even more abstract. I really wish an S-class hero or a demon level or higher monster would pop up and give me some credit. Bai Ye spread his hands, feeling that his path to becoming a hero had encountered a major challenge on the very first day. He couldn't simply display his strength as a matter of course. Do I really have to go through all sorts of tests? Doesn't it mean I have to wait several more days? With these slightly agitated thoughts, Bai Ye looked at one of the staff members. Hey, where's the Hero Association branch in this city? You? What do you want? The staff member subconsciously took a step back. What for? Of course, I'm paying a visit. Bai Ye grinned. Didn't you say you couldn't make decisions? Then I'll find a leader who can. If the branch office can't do it, I'll go to headquarters. If headquarters can't do it, then I'll just have to put you on your wanted list. With that, Bai Ye grabbed the slightly thinner man in the suit by the back of the collar. Hurry up and give me directions. Don't try to lie to me, or I'll treat you like a monster once I find out. Please don't be so impatient. The Hero Association branch in Z City is in that direction. The man in the suit pointed shakily, then felt his collar lighten and landed steadily on his feet. Bai Ye, meanwhile, had already created a whirlwind and was running in the direction the man in the suit had pointed. Watching Bai Ye's departing figure, the man in the suit tremblingly picked up the headset and said, reporting to the association, someone with strength above tiger level is heading towards the Z City branch of the association. His request is to obtain hero certification from the association. What? The operator on the other end of the line immediately exclaimed in astonishment, not expecting the situation. Received. I will pass it on immediately. Please report the characteristics of the person's appearance, the man in the suit said with certainty. Handsome, very handsome. Chapter 194 Invincible below S rank. Z City, at the Hero Association branch, a large group of men with diverse clothing and hair colors were neatly lined up, handing over their resumes. If Bai Ye were here, he would recognize that these men in line were the same reincarnators he had been in the same room with earlier. These reincarnators, who once reigned supreme in the reincarnation space, were now all respectfully smiling and handing over their resumes to the staff, much like corporate slaves. Are you going to become a hero? The receptionist smiled at the 2-meter-tall man in front of her. Yes, I believe that the strength I've gained through over a decade of hard training is sufficient for this position, and I've always aspired to be a hero who helps the weak and punishes the strong, the tall man said seriously. The receptionist smiled professionally and nodded, very confident. Sir. Well then, I wish you a smooth journey. May I ask your name so I can register you? My name is Ivanov. May I choose my own title? The tall man introduced himself. The customer service representative shook their head. No, that's not possible. These titles are chosen by the Hero Association. Okay, I completely understand your feelings. When is the next hero test? Ivanov nodded repeatedly, his voice trembling with apprehension. The specific time will be announced later. Please leave your contact information. It should be within the next 7 days, the representative said. Contact information? I've been living in the mountains with my teacher. I don't even have an identity card. Could you please make an exception? Ivanov asked, troubled. No identity card? Then you'll need to register your identity at the police station before you can take the hero test. Next customer, please. The Hero Association's customer service representative politely ushered Ivanov out. After the reincarnators retreated, their faces grim, they huddled together in small groups, chatting. Damn it, those snobbish guys. They don't know we're reincarnators. I could blow up an entire street with one punch. Stop complaining. We're unfamiliar with this world. Let's lie low for a while, another reincarnator sighed. Then, they noticed the entire Hero Association branch was under an alarm. Accompanied by a slightly piercing alarm, a voice immediately came over the loudspeaker. An enemy is about to attack this branch of the association. Disaster level, Tiger. Heroes of A rank or higher are requested to handle the enemy. Enemy description, cool, very cool, our chance has arrived. Hearing the announcement, everyone's eyes lit up instinctively. Finally, they had a chance to act. The next moment, Ivanov, surrounded by the crowd, stood up immediately. Although he didn't know the level of power in this world, following the order of wolf, tiger, demon, dragon, god, surely he, a strong man at the early stage of the 6th rank, couldn't possibly be unable to handle a tiger-level monster. Wait here a moment. After I defeat that monster and make him a hero, I'll use my connections to get you all promoted. Ivanov stood up confidently. Amidst the cheers of his subordinates, he suddenly felt a familiar aura spreading towards them, and his expression changed slightly. "Boss, why did you sit down?" The reincarnators looked at the previously confident Ivanov as he squatted down again, blending into their group, and couldn't help but be curious. But a moment later, a familiar, sharp shout came from afar. "This is the Hero Association branch, right? Don't waste our time. Quickly give me hero rank certification, and then directly rank me S-class." Boom! With a long-haired figure descending from the sky, Bai Ye's feet stepped into the branch. "It's him. Why him? Why him? How dare he?" This was the common question that all the reincarnators present wanted to ask. "This wasn't how you die. He has already met his end in a righteous way. Let the others take care of him," Ivanov said confidently. Oh, Bai Ye also noticed the group of reincarnators inside. They clearly possessed strength, yet they acted like this. How pathetic. Before he could observe further, a wiry man with blonde hair and a black bodysuit blocked his path at supersonic speed. The blonde man grinned and said, "I am a rank 20, Lightning Max. How dare you cause trouble at the Hero Association? You'll suffer." Before he could finish speaking, a shoe sole slammed down on his face with lightning speed. The clean sole pressed down hard on his face, crushing him into the ground. Crack! 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 Amidst the sound of shattering bricks, his entire body was embedded in the smooth, hard marble floor. "Hey, is this the only kind of trash in this branch of the association?" Bai Ye pressed his right foot against the back of Max's head, gradually pushing his body deeper until it was completely flush with the floor. The 20th ranked A-class hero was killed in an instant. The people at the scene stared blankly at the figure standing still. "I'll take you on," a loud shout came from the side, and a tall, muscular man in a vest stepped out from the corner and roared at Bai Ye, "I am the 9th ranked A-class hero." Before he could finish speaking, Bai Ye's figure seemed to jump through frames, and when he reappeared, his right elbow was already thrust forward, deeply embedded in the muscular man's abdomen. PFFT, the muscular man's eyes bulged out of their sockets like eggs. Bai Ye's right elbow felt so heavy that it seemed to have pierced the muscular man's lungs. His back bulged high from the heavy blow. A mouthful of blood gushed out of his mouth, and after a moment of stiffness, his figure slowly fell, unable to rise again. The 9th-ranked A-class hero was also instantly killed. The staff at the scene completely panicked. This was definitely not a Tiger-level disaster, but a Ghost-level one. In other words, this guy had definitely reached the threshold of an S-class hero. "I don't think there's any need for A rank to come again," Bai Ye said, kicking the defenseless A rank 9 away like trash, then pulled up a chair and sat down. "I heard there's an S rank 3 Silver Fang dojo in Z City. Can you find him?" Bai Ye looked at customer service, but there was no need for them to report to their superiors. The situation had already been uploaded to city headquarters by cameras. A demon-level monster, a high-ranking member of the Hero Association, having received the message, asked his subordinate, but the response surprised them. "No, it's an unidentified human who has already easily defeated A rank 9 and 20, and wants to obtain an S rank hero certification. He's waiting inside the building now, saying any S rank hero will do, and if he doesn't get the certification today, he'll storm headquarters." After reporting, the subordinate asked, "Should we contact Mr. Silverfang immediately?" The high-ranking member next to him hadn't expected the reason to be so simple. "He wants an S-rank hero ranking? Well, just give it to him." Chapter 195 Bai Ye is my godfather. Huh? Give it to him? The subordinate looked up in surprise. Anyway, his strength has already reached the threshold of S-class hero, why not give it to him? The Hero Association's higher-ups looked at their subordinate strangely and said, "The number of monsters is increasing. 10 years ago, only one appeared every 9 months, but now there are hundreds or even thousands every month. Both the quantity and quality are improving, but the number of our high-quality heroes hasn't increased much. Don't you want to think about recruiting talent? Are you going to send S-class heroes to fight among humans again? We don't mind having too few high-level heroes in the association. It's not like we're paying his salary ourselves." The subordinate wanted to argue that Bai Ye's actions had already caused casualties. But then he remembered that the S-class hero, sexy prison uniform, was still serving his sentence in prison for assaulting a man, and the Hero Association hadn't revoked his qualification yet. Obviously, the strength of S-class heroes allowed them to disregard the law to a certain extent. "I understand. Go and notify them now." The subordinate nodded in agreement, then turned around and immediately dialed the branch office's number. Meanwhile, at the Z City branch office, Bai Ye was waiting for the Hero Association's decision, preparing to fight his way up. With his current strength, relying solely on brute force without utilizing technology, he would likely plateau at around 5th place in the S-class. While Bai Ye was pondering this, a staff member who had received the message approached respectfully with a smile. "Sir, I understand your request. After careful consideration and a meeting, headquarters has decided to exceptionally promote you to S-class hero. This is ridiculous. Does the association have no more skilled heroes?" The reincarnators nearby widened their eyes, their hearts filled with anticipation. "Currently, you are 17th in the S-class. Please continue your efforts and improve your ranking by completing missions." The staff member spoke softly, their tone incredibly gentle, many times more so than when addressing the reincarnators. 17th? That's the bottom of the S-class. Can I level up by beating up heroes ranked higher than me? Bai Ye inquired. "Sorry, hero ranks can only be increased by defeating monsters and similar events," the staff member said, sweating profusely. "Is that so? Then I can choose my own hero title. I'll call him Nemesis," Bai Ye said. The staff naturally had no objection to this small request and readily confirmed it for Bai Ye. At the moment of registration, the voice of the main god space rang in Bai Ye's ears. Main quest, factional division completed, the reincarnator joins the hero faction. Quest rewards have been issued, please check side quest 1, proof of heroism unlocked. Quest description, since you've chosen to be a hero, become the strongest. Quest requirements, within 2 months, the reincarnator must use their strength to improve their status within their faction as much as possible. Quest rewards, for each C-rank hero advancement, 1 reward point is added, maximum 10 points. For each hero level increase, reward points increase 10-fold, with a maximum increase being 10-fold. Additionally, for each of the top 3 S-rank heroes, 30,000 reward points are added. Quest penalty, before the 2-month countdown ends. All reincarnators who have unlocked this side quest and who have not become A-rank heroes will be eliminated. Side quest 2, enemy of monsters unlocked. Quest description, as a hero, you will be mortal enemies with monsters. Mission requirements, reincarnators must kill as many monsters or enemy reincarnators as possible within 2 months. Mission rewards, reaching wolf level strength grants 10 reward points per monster hunted. For each level gained, the reward points multiply by 10. Mission penalty, before the countdown ends, all reincarnators who have activated this side quest and are ranked lowest will have all reward points deducted. Looking at the refreshed side quests, Bai Ye was surprised to find that a penalty had appeared, whereas the original main quest did not. Clearly, the god's intention was clear: in this world, to become stronger and cultivate the world's power system, one must complete the main quests. However, after completing the main quests, the subsequent side quests would force you to take risks and prevent you from easily taking a passive approach. Conversely, if you choose to be an ordinary person and not participate in the main quests, there is neither risk nor any possibility of gaining power. You'll be trampled underfoot for life. Is the choice entirely yours? This is interesting. I'm starting to like this god space, Bai Ye grinned. Hey, I don't have a house or any money right now. Your association must have some kind of welfare policy, right? Bai Ye asked the staff member. Well, of course, no problem. According to the association's welfare policy, S-rank heroes can get an advance on a portion of their salary if needed, which is more than enough for your living expenses, the staff member said. Alright, take me to a place to stay, Bai Ye said in a tone that sounded like he was ordering his subordinate around. Of course, no problem, I'll take you to the assigned house right away, the staff member nodded repeatedly, temporarily becoming Bai Ye's personal assistant. Watching the staff member lead Bai Ye out of the Hero Association's gate with a fawning tone, the reincarnators squatting to the side were filled with envy, jealousy, and hatred, wishing they could jump out and replicate Bai Ye's actions immediately. By the way, they're considered our friends, and they all seem to be quite strong, but like me, they don't have identification. Could you arrange a hero test for them as soon as possible? At this moment, Bai Ye suddenly pointed to the pitiful reincarnators in the corner and said, Ah, so many of them are? The staff member was stunned for a moment. After Bai Ye spoke, the reincarnators who had recovered from their shock immediately sprang into action, their attitudes changing faster than flipping through a book. Big brother, one reincarnator gracefully slid to his knees, clasping his hands in a fist salute to the staff behind Bai Ye, saying, "Hello, I'm Big Brother's #1 underling, Iron Fist Tiger, please give me your guidance, and me, I'm Big Brother's #2 underling, Blackheart War God, please give me your guidance, I'm #3, I'm #6, I'm my godfather's adopted son, please call me, he's actually my uncle." In the short time it took Bai Ye to say a few words, these reincarnators, in order to join the Hero Association, abandoned all the principles, bringing dozens of relatives along to claim kinship with Bai Ye, acting as if they came from the same village. Even Ivanov, who had previously claimed kinship, now abandoned all principles, accepting the title of Bai Ye's #6 underling. Well, that's not impossible. I'll report it to the association later, and we can hold a special test this evening. Out of respect for Bai Ye, the Hero Association's initially firm principles immediately softened, and the staff member nodded after a moment's thought. However, a few hours later, the Hero Association discovered that Bai Ye's relatives were all at least A-rank experts, leading them to suspect that Bai Ye and his group came from Wu family village. Chapter 196 SYNOPSIS failed life. Force, 300,000 tons of strength, running speed of 1,000 meters per second, 70 jumps per second. At this moment, at the Hero Association's branch, looking at the reincarnators displaying their unique abilities, the staff members stared wide-eyed, their faces filled with disbelief. Any one of these people possessed at least the physical attributes of an A-rank hero, and 7 or 8 had even surpassed the S-rank threshold. 2 of them had even easily broken the limits of mechanical testing, making it impossible to detect their upper limit. Not to mention that almost every reincarnator possessed several powerful superpowers. The reincarnators grinned maliciously at the staff, feeling triumphant, finally having a chance to show off their power. "You are all subordinates of the Nemesis?" From the same place as him, the staff were shocked. When did S-rank heroes become so common? Meanwhile, the situation immediately attracted the attention of the Hero Association headquarters, and a special team quickly came down to investigate, but ultimately concluded that there were no problems. In the final written test, these seasoned reincarnators naturally had no problem, each easily passing with near-perfect scores. Then, within just one day, the Hero Association gained 3 S-class and over 30 A-class heroes, leaving those unaware of the inside story feeling a sense of unreality. Alarm! Alarm! Multiple explosions have occurred in Z City, determined to be the work of a demon-level monster. Nearby heroes are requested to provide support. At this moment, a piercing voice quickly rang out over the Hero Association's loudspeaker, attracting the reincarnators' attention. These individuals, at least A-class heroes, had their elimination threat resolved and now needed to complete missions to improve their evaluations. However, isn't it a bit too coincidental that another demon-level monster has committed an attack so quickly in Z City? Some reincarnators harbored suspicions, guessing that the incident was carried out by those who had chosen the monster faction. And soon, this guess was immediately confirmed, as Z City instantly descended into chaos, with multiple different figures committing crimes in various areas. According to statistics, more than a dozen monsters, at least at the demon level, suddenly appeared and committed crimes in Z City, making no attempt to hide being caught on surveillance cameras, clearly aiming to get on the Hero Association's wanted list. However, these reincarnators from the opposing camp were also cunning. After making a brief appearance by destroying a street, they went into complete hiding, avoiding direct confrontation with the authorities. This was also to prevent the 40-odd reincarnators from the hero camp from using them to boost their own achievements. The entire chaotic process did not last long. After dozens of large streets in Z City were destroyed, everything quickly calmed down. If it weren't for the smoke-filled city, it would have seemed as if nothing had happened. Meanwhile, Bai Ye noticed a special person. "Hey, you bald guy over there, on the street." Bai Ye, who had finished looking at houses and was strolling around, shouted at a figure running at high speed. The other person had a signature light bulb-shaped head and a listless, dead fish-like eye. He was wearing a yellow Superman suit with a white cape and red gloves. It was Saitama. At this moment, the other person was running at an extremely fast speed, trying to reach one of the disaster sites. But after Bai Ye shouted, the other person glared at him with several veins bulging on his bald head and said, "Hey, what's wrong with being bald? Do you have a problem with that?" No, I just thought your bald head looked pleasing to the eye, so I called out to you." "Your name is Saitama, right?" Bai Ye watched the other person's running figure and chased after him. How do you know my name? Saitama looked at Bai Ye in confusion, then suddenly realized, I understand, I must have saved you before, right? Completely wrong. Bai Ye ran side by side with Saitama and said to him, I just thought you looked pleasing to the eye, so I wanted to chat with you. Chat? But I have to go save other people now. Let's chat after I've dealt with this, Saitama said indifferently. Watching Saitama run, Bai Ye frowned, and the next moment, he pushed off the ground with both legs, disappearing at the end of the road at a speed dozens of times faster than Saitama's, to Saitama's astonishment. In the western district of Z City, a 5-meter-tall, beast-like reincarnator swung his fists, several times larger than sandbags, relentlessly smashing them. With each punch, over a dozen buildings crumbled into countless fragments. To be a hero, you need a legitimate identity to take the tests. Nothing beats being a monster. Just shoot and move on. The greater the destruction, the easier it is to reach the targets. The beast-like reincarnator wreaked havoc, destroying several streets and injuring or killing tens of thousands in just 1 minute. But the next moment, a figure appeared from afar, delivering a simple, unadorned punch that struck him. Amidst the exploding blood rain, blood and entrails splattered everywhere, covering the ruined street. Bai Ye withdrew his fist and looked at the trembling crowd in the ruins, saying, Hey, I'm the Nemesis. Remember to mention my name when the association comes to investigate. After speaking, Bai Ye turned his gaze to Saitama, who had arrived late, and said, I've taken care of the matter. Now we can talk, right? How did you do that? Saitama's eyes lit up as he looked at Bai Ye with great curiosity. How can you run so fast without damaging the surrounding environment? Saitama wasn't surprised by Bai Ye's strength at all. Instead, he was curious about Bai Ye's ability to move at high speed. He usually suppressed his speed when running because he didn't want to damage the environment. If he learned this technique, wouldn't he be able to fight monsters even better? This is my superpower. You can't learn it. Bai Ye directly denied Saitama's expectations. Seeing the other's disappointed look, he added, You want to be famous, don't you? What? Saitama stared blankly at Bai Ye. You possess invincible power, yet no one understands you. You yearn for a wealthy life, yet live in the suburbs. You desire fame, yet no one recognizes you. Bai Ye, looking at the wounded Saitama, accurately commented, Your life is truly a failure. What? A failure? No way. It's all because I'm indifferent to fame and fortune. Saitama felt embarrassed and instinctively tried to excuse himself, but Bai Ye's all-seeing gaze stopped him. Stop deceiving yourself. You want an opponent, you want money, you want friends, you want fame. You want so much, but you get nothing. So you use this so-called indifference to fool yourself. Bai Ye pointed at Saitama seriously. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 197 Saitama vs. Tank Top Master. Is Saitama a good person? In Bai Ye's assessment, he is undoubtedly a good person. Although he has various desires, wanting to be worshipped by everyone as a superstar and hero, wanting a wealthy life, all these desires are merely human nature. Despite possessing the power to not eat beef, he has never relied on abusing his power to obtain these things. Even if he didn't abuse his power, gold will shine wherever it is. Someone should have noticed his difference and obtained these things through normal means. But he didn't. Despite possessing invincible power, the damn fate of this world and the bizarre perception of the masses, which seemed to have altered common sense, forced Saitama to remain unknown for 3 years, living in cramped conditions in the suburbs like a piece of trash from the sewers. If Saitama were a heartless machine, it would be one thing, but he clearly possesses all sorts of human desires, yet this damn world toyed with him like this. If it were Bai Ye himself, he would have already said no to this world, then attacked everyone he met, and rampaged across the entire world like a madman. Why should good people have to be held at gunpoint? Bai Ye, who couldn't stand things, was determined to change them. So, let me help you become famous. Bai Ye, the dream-fulfilling angel, patted Saitama's shoulder. Then you'll be a big star, living in a big house, and won't have to worry about supermarket sales. Saitama scratched his forehead with his red-gloved fingers, feeling a shameful surge of excitement. Then it's decided. Come on, I'll take you to report to become a hero, with a goal in mind, Bai Ye said enthusiastically. Become a hero, Saitama scratched his head in confusion. Am I already a hero? You are a hero, but in other people's eyes, you're nothing, Bai Ye spoke ambiguously. 3 years ago, a hero association was established. In other people's eyes, only those who prove their strength after passing tests within the association are considered official heroes. And the higher the ranking, the stronger the hero, and the more famous they are. A non-professional hero like you is completely unknown. Like the clown, defeating monsters only brings you extra food for dinner, you don't gain anything else, Bai Ye said disdainfully. Do pro heroes even make money? Saitama's eyes lit up. Of course. Even an A-class hero earns at least several 100,000 yen a month. For the past 3 years, you've been working for others for free. All the monsters you've fought have been claimed by others and become their pay slips, Bai Ye rolled his eyes. Is that so? Saitama was shocked. He had missed out on so much all this time. No wonder he hadn't made a name for himself after fighting monsters for so long. Otherwise, what hero would be as poor and unknown as you? Even Spider-Man has a huge reputation, Bai Ye continued, cutting him to the bone, before dragging him towards the Hero Association. Hey, don't pull me. I'll go with you, Saitama couldn't help but say as Bai Ye pulled him along. Inside the Hero Association, Bai Ye pointed to Saitama beside him and said to the staff, this is my friend. He has a record of defeating dragon-level monsters, but his brain has gotten messed up in the past few years. You should give him a strength test first. Yes, the staff nodded vigorously. Bai Ye had now become a key focus of the association. It should be noted that Bai Ye had brought the association numerous S-class and A-class heroes with just a few words. Furthermore, those people considered themselves Bai Ye's subordinates, which would be a huge force. The higher-ups at headquarters had specifically instructed that if Bai Ye made any similar requests, they should do their utmost to fulfill them. Who's the nemesis? Step forward. Outside, a furious roar echoed throughout the association, drawing everyone's attention. Bai Ye turned around and saw a burly man in a vest, with clearly defined muscles, standing at the association's entrance, his angry gaze scanning the surroundings. It's Tank Top Master, the S-Class 14th hero. Why is he here? And it looks like he's here to cause trouble for Coco. Are you stupid? Didn't you see the A-Class 9th rank Tank Top vegetarian being carried away on a stretcher? He must be here to avenge his underlings. The surrounding staff chattered, reminding Bai Ye that the hero he had defeated earlier was indeed wearing a tank top. So, was he Coco's underling? At this moment, Tank Top Master's gaze swept around the association before landing on Bai Ye, and he walked straight towards him. You're Coco, right? After causing a ruckus in the association and injuring a hero, do you still think you deserve to be an S-class hero? Tank Top Master stared intently at Bai Ye, his muscles bulging, seemingly ready to attack at any moment. I'm too lazy to argue with you. The weak don't deserve my reasoning, Bai Ye scoffed. You just want to fight, right? No matter how much I talk, you won't be able to hold back a punch to my face. Hiss. The surrounding people gasped at Bai Ye's reply, their eyes lighting up, eager to see what would happen. Tank Top Master had already subconsciously clenched his right fist, preparing to smash it into Bai Ye's face. But before he could strike, Bai Ye turned to the staff and said, hello, the test arranged for my friend is unnecessary. There's clearly a better target here. With that, Bai Ye lifted Saitama up and placed him between himself and Tank Top Master, saying, hey, Tank Top Man, if you want to hit me, you'll have to get past my subordinate first. If you can't even beat him, you're not qualified to face me. Saitama, suddenly dragged into the conflict? You bastard. Tank Top Master clenched his fist. Bai Ye's words were indeed extremely sarcastic, and he felt his anger surging. Tank Top Master looked at the bald man blocking his way, while Saitama, who had witnessed Byakuya's attack, instinctively waved his hand, saying, hey, stop fighting, you can't beat him. But Tank Top Master wouldn't listen, his large, fan-like hand already reaching for Saitama, trying to slap him aside. However, amidst the excited gazes of those around, Saitama easily grabbed his powerful hand. Then the bald man stared at him with deadpan eyes, saying, hey, don't rush, let me move aside first. Oh, you do have some strength, no wonder he let you block me. Tank Top Master looked at the bald man seriously. You mean you want to fight in an open space? There's no need. I didn't use my full strength just now, I can easily finish you off now. That's not what I meant, eh? Saitama tried to explain, But Tank Top Master, now completely serious, threw a punch at the bald man with 70% of his power, intending to knock him unconscious. Then, in Tank Top Master's contracting pupils, his serious punch was easily caught by the other man. Saitama said with a helpless expression, "You don't listen to anyone at all." Chapter 198. As everyone knows, Saitama isn't very bright. Z City, at the Hero Association branch, Tank Top Master and Saitama stood facing each other. "I really underestimated you. That bald face looks ordinary, but it can withstand 70% of my power," Tank Top Master said seriously, but these words had already stirred Saitama's emotions, causing a tic-tac-toe mark to appear on his smooth forehead. "You'd better watch out for your next punch." Tank Top Master's expression turned serious, his back bulging, preparing to unleash a full-force punch on Saitama. "It's here." Tank Top Master's serious punch, someone nearby couldn't help but exclaim excitedly. Because of his overwhelming physical abilities, Tank Top Master could usually defeat any monster in one move. Few opponents could make him take it seriously. "Don't you heroes listen to me at all?" After several fruitless attempts to communicate, Saitama had completely given up trying to explain. "Tank Top Punch," Tank Top Master roared, shattering the hard tiles beneath his feet, creating a massive crater several meters wide, propelling him towards Saitama like a rocket. The scene unfolded with astonishing speed, too fast for most onlookers to observe. Saitama, however, remained unmoved, simply delivering a casual slap. Boom! With a dull thud, Tank Top Master was sent flying, completely unprepared. When those around reacted, they saw layers of buildings smashed through by Tank Top Master's body. Through the holes, they could see the unconscious figure embedded within the buildings. Impossible. An S-class hero, defeated in a single blow. The onlookers stared dumbfounded at the stunned Saitama and the distant Tank Top Master. "Oh, I see." Suddenly, a staff member clapped their hands, saying, "It wasn't actually this bald guy who attacked, it was his nemesis behind him who intervened when he couldn't win. Yeah, that's it. How could this bald guy possibly defeat an S-class hero? He's not even ranked." The onlookers suddenly realized. To defeat Tank Top Master in one blow, Saitama's strength must be incredible. He's definitely in the top 10 of S-class. At this moment, the surrounding people were discussing animatedly, each letting their imaginations run wild. But no matter how they speculated, they just couldn't believe that Saitama had defeated Tank Top Master with his own strength. Saitama stood there blankly, his expression blank as he listened to the surrounding crowd's discussions. He didn't care at all that his victory had been taken by Byakuya, and turned to Byakuya with a slight smile, saying, "When does the previous hero certification start?" Slap! Saitama's shoulder was suddenly slapped by two hands. Bai Ye, holding Saitama down, roared at the surrounding chattering crowd with a grim expression, "Hey, what nonsense are you bunch of idiots spouting? That muscular guy in the vest was knocked down by this bald guy with one punch. You're throwing the blame at me without any evidence, waiting for the awakened Tank Top Master to come after me. Are you all trying to cause me trouble?" Seeing Bai Ye's dark face, the surrounding people were utterly astonished. Could it be that the bald guy really defeated the Tank Top Master? Because Saitama was so strong, even a casual slap couldn't be captured by surveillance cameras, so there was no evidence to prove Saitama had made a move. Bai Ye could only helplessly look at the staff beside him and say, "Ignore what I just said, continue with the physical fitness test." Yes. The staff member said softly, then called other staff to repair the damaged area after the battle and led the two to the testing location. It was still the same place where the group of reincarnators had been tested not long ago, with large areas of debris still not completely cleaned up. Saitama, guided by the staff, entered the testing area. The onlookers, who had previously been skeptical of his victory over Tank Top Respect, gathered around, eager to see what was happening. First, 30 seconds of repeated side-to-side jumps. Ready. Go. With the counter's command, a collective gasp filled the air. Saitama's blurry figure appeared on the training field, his speed astonishing. Meanwhile, Bai Ye silently raised his camera, recording the scene, preparing to post it online. Saitama wasn't even using 1% of his power in this test, otherwise, the entire Z City would have crumbled under his feet. But Bai Ye wasn't planning to let him display his full strength yet. The depth of thought is like flight. Most ordinary people can't take flight. The higher one flies, the fewer people can accompany them, and in the eyes of ordinary people on the ground who can't fly, your silhouette becomes smaller, making it harder for them to notice your thoughts. The same applies to strength. This is the meaning of highbrow and unpopular. If Bai Ye were to activate his biofield now, connecting the ground into a solid plate to allow Sadama's power to be better unleashed, the netizens who witnessed this scene wouldn't accept it. Instead, they would use physical analysis to prove that Sadama's test video was photoshopped and it was all a show, because this scene contradicted their common sense. Therefore, to allow ordinary people to see a glimpse of Sadama's immense power, sometimes slightly lowering the flight altitude is necessary. Soon after, Sadama's power test results came out, and the undisputed perfect score of 50 left everyone without question. He was indeed terrifyingly strong. This is definitely an S-class hero. He's broken several records. The people around couldn't help but think. By the way, he's actually not very bright, Bai Ye said, putting his arm around Sadama's shoulder as he introduced him to the staff. Don't be fooled by his strength. He uses all his intelligence to build muscle, so his score will be very low during the assessment. Very low? How low? He just seems a little slow, not mentally challenged. With some test-taking skills, he could easily get 40 or 50 points. Those around couldn't help but think. But half an hour later, looking at the 21-point written test score, everyone almost spat out their soda. Is this guy's brain okay? The surrounding staff all looked at this light bulb with strange eyes. Everyone said he was extremely intelligent. How come it's the other way around? Can I see his written test? Bai Ye smiled at the staff member, who readily agreed. Looking at the test paper, with a just as I expected mentality, Bai Ye took out his phone and snapped a picture of Sadama's written test. Chapter 199. I'm very sorry, your written test score was a failing grade of 21, but your physical fitness test score makes up for it considerably. The staff member handed Sadama his report card, looking rather guilty. Overall, your hero ranking is only C-class, 388th. Does the written test account for such a high percentage of the score? Sadama was a little embarrassed. He had clearly answered very seriously based on the facts. It's alright. A hero's ranking can be improved by defeating monsters. With your strength, Mr. Sadama, it won't be long before you rise up. The staff member comforted him with magnanimity, mentally labeling Sadama as a very strong but mentally challenged individual. Of course, this is based on no one stealing the credit, Bai Ye silently added in his mind, witnessing this scene. After the two emerged from the Hero Association, Sadama rubbed the back of his smooth head and said, I should thank you for today, otherwise I wouldn't have known the Hero Association even existed. It's nothing, I was just having a good time, Bai Ye waved dismissively. But there's one more thing you need to know. What is it? Well, being a hero requires achievements. Because there are too many C-rank heroes, it's best to complete at least one event per week, otherwise you might be removed from the hero roster. I wish you the best of luck in getting promoted to B rank soon. After Bai Ye finished speaking, Sadama's face showed a troublesome expression. See you next time. Bai Ye waved lightly and turned to leave. Sadama looked at Bai Ye's back. Hey, are you leaving? I still have things to finish, Bai Ye said without turning back. These people alone are far from enough to make Sadama famous. There's a long way to go. Late at night, several news items went viral online, attracting global attention. A demon-level monster riot has occurred in Z City, and half the city has fallen. Z City Hero Headquarters breaks records. 4 S-class heroes, 32 A-class heroes, and 1 C-class hero break records in one day. Among these numerous bombshell news items, one stands out for its stark contrast. Shocking. S-class hero Tank Top Master defeated by a C-class rookie. Association conspiracy or fabricated results? Compared to the previous major events, the defeat of the well-known Tank Top Master by a C-class hero unexpectedly attracted more attention, quickly drawing a large number of clicks. The page detailed Tank Top Master's confrontation and subsequent defeat, accompanied by surveillance video from the Hero Association. While the video didn't capture Sadama's attack, it was undeniable that Tank Top Master was about to strike and was instantly sent flying. Following this video, another video and a photo were posted. The video showed the C-class hero participating in the hero test. His powerful physique, moving like a blur, was too fast for the eye to follow, sending adrenaline soaring. Impossible. This kind of physical test score is for a C-rank hero. On the subway, a commuter scrolling through his phone nearly dropped it. He finally understood what the association scandal in the title meant. A C-rank hero? Something was definitely wrong. But then, Two pictures were posted at the end of the post. Saitama's hero score in his written test questions. 21 points on the written test? To get such a low score on such subjective, unrealistic questions? What kind of idiot is this? The commuter grumbled at his score, then scrolled to the test questions. Question 1. When you encounter a highly destructive monster in a densely populated city center, what would you do? Answer. Charge in and knock the enemy down with one punch before causing destruction. Question 2. When you encounter a monster stronger than you in a deserted suburb, holding multiple hostages, what would you do? Answer. Stronger than me? Then I'll definitely fight it out and rescue the hostages. Question 3. When encountering a low-level monster in a children's amusement park, what would you do? Answer. Rush in and knock the enemy down with one punch before causing damage. This guy really has no brains. The office worker looked at the test question and confirmed it in his heart. Getting 21 points might be a favor from the examiner. Does this guy think he's invincible and can knock down anything with one punch? And this kind of thought surfaced in the minds of countless people who watch this video. Just defeated an S-Class 14th ranked hero, does he think he's invincible? That's too arrogant. So arrogant, talented but immoral, he deserves to only get a C-Class hero spot. However, while complaining, a piece of information was indeed successfully implanted in these people's brains. This C-Class hero, although arrogant, undoubtedly possesses strength above S-Class, he's just not very bright. And in the continuous discussion, a title was also bestowed on Saitama's head, One Punch Man. This is a nickname, referring to the way this guy thought he could knock down anyone with one punch on the written test. In his newly acquired villa, Bai Ye sat with his legs crossed on the table, watching with satisfaction as public opinion soared under his manipulation. There's nothing I can't accomplish, he said contentedly. With this groundwork laid, others would naturally discover Saitama's shining talent. Meanwhile, in Gotham City at night, Bloom Gavin, dressed in black, moved through the streets. Suddenly, a man completely encased in black armor, only his chin and eyes visible, blocked his path. Batman! Gavin's eyes lit up, looking at the man before him with a feeling of a fan meeting their idol. Can I follow you? I want to be a superhero too. Bruce Wayne silently stared at the man. Recalling the results of his investigation, Bloom Gavin, an employee of one of his subsidiaries. He had somehow acquired a large sum of gold recently, moving into a luxurious villa with his wife and son. Simultaneously, his physical abilities had inexplicably increased, and after resolving his financial problems, he wanted to become a superhero like him. Bruce said in a hoarse voice, I've seen everything you've done these past few days, but I don't think you're suited for this particular profession. It's all just enthusiasm. Reality will soon wash it all away. But Gavin didn't heed his words at all. It's alright. Now I have no financial worries. It's time to pursue spiritual enjoyment. Having suddenly received a large sum of money, Gavin's personality underwent a dramatic change in a short time. He said in a relaxed tone, I think I'm the one who can handle it. Chapter 200 can certainly be used next time. In the alley, Batman frowned as he looked at the arrogant man before him. He'd seen plenty of these kinds of people before, and they certainly wouldn't disappear in the future. Nouveau riche, overflowing with confidence, couldn't listen to advice. What you do is your own business, it's none of my concern. Just be careful not to cross the line, Bruce said simply before turning and leaving. The difference in their perspectives made him abandon any further advice. In the blink of an eye, Gavin was left alone in the cold, damp alley. Looking at the empty alley, he smirked unhappily, I can be a superhero without you. Just you wait. Several days later, in the early morning, Bai Ye climbed out of his soft bed, stretched, and yawned slowly. Following his usual routine, after a quick wash, he watched the news on TV. Quite a few things had happened in the past few days. First, the security level in various cities had greatly improved. Previously, one S-Class Guardian was considered good for a city. Now, with the reincarnators spreading out, it was equivalent to an average of one more S-Class hero on duty. Of course, on the contrary, the monster's destruction became even more rampant with the addition of the opposing reincarnators. Yo, Byakuya, we meet again. As Byakuya walked out of the villa and strolled down the street, a vibrant and energetic voice rang out. Byakuya didn't need to turn around to know that the speaker was definitely walking towards him with an arrogant gait. Turning his head, he saw Saitama, now ranked third in Class B, the One Punch Man. After clearly demonstrating Saitama's power, The number of people pretending to be Saitama and defeating monsters had greatly decreased. It was only a matter of time before Saitama rose to S-class. Defeating even a demon-level monster would significantly improve his ranking. I remember you don't usually operate in this area, do you? Bai Ye looked around suspiciously. There aren't any monsters around here right now. Did you come here specifically to find me? Yes, Bai Ye-san, let's have a fight. Saitama clenched his fist and looked at him seriously. Are you crazy? Bai Ye rolled his eyes. With my skinny arms and legs, if you want to kill me, just say so. Don't use fighting as an excuse. I can see that Bai Ye-san is completely different from others. Looking at Bai Ye's sarcastic remarks, Saitama's expression became serious. In the past few days, I can clearly feel that your threat to me has almost doubled, although it's still negligible. You don't need to say the rest. Bai Ye gazed at the bustling street in the distance and asked, I really think you're a strange person. Why are you so obsessed with having an evenly matched opponent? Isn't being invincible good? Bai Ye asked, puzzled. But that would take away the thrill of battle, Saitama replied matter-of-factly. I remember, before you gained this power, you weren't some kind of battle maniac, were you? Even in high school, you were a salaryman who didn't fight back when others bullied you? It's such a good thing to gain power, only you would be troubled by it. Bai Ye couldn't understand the other's thought process. When he didn't have power, he didn't fight back against bullying, but now that he has power, he's looking for opponents. So let's fight. Saitama's eyes lit up with a fighting spirit as he repeated. Damn, I feel like fighting you would make me look stupid. Bai Ye refused without hesitation. If it were some kind of unconventional battle like the fastest woman's 1,000-man slayer, he might consider it, but fighting Saitama was completely unnecessary. What if he got carried away halfway through the fight, like this idiot, and started taking it seriously? Then by the time the fight was over, his physical attributes would probably have skyrocketed to a level of mental attributes that seemed endless, completely pointless. Please, Bai Ye-kun, this is my lifelong request. Saitama quickly stepped in front of Bai Ye, giving him a perfect 90-degree bow, his tone incredibly sincere. Feeling a bit of a headache from being pestered by this fool, Bai Ye said seriously, I can fight you, but you have to bring me a beautiful woman. Hey, are you some kind of master Roshi? Saitama looked at Bai Ye in astonishment. Trafficking people is illegal in modern society, that's your problem. Bai Ye smiled. Watching Bai Ye's slowly receding figure, Saitama began to seriously consider this problem. He remembered the mechanical man who came to him wanting to become his apprentice after defeating the swarm of mosquitoes yesterday. If he tricked him into wearing women's clothing, would it be possible to fool Bai Ye? Just as Saitama was pondering, he didn't see a black shadow streak across the sky, flying towards Bai Ye. I can't stand it anymore, please accept my love for you. On the street, a muscular man dressed in a black and white prison uniform, with a stubble on his face, blocked Bai Ye's path, his expression filled with longing. The surrounding crowd looked at the two on the street in surprise, but at this moment, in the prison man's eyes, there was only the man in front of him who seemed to be radiating light. I am an S-class hero, sexy prisoner, the man in prison uniform introduced himself, blocking Bai Ye's path. Because I saw your heroic figure on TV while I was in prison, I couldn't resist escaping to see you. If you accept my love, I promise that from now on I will be chaste and devoted to. The sexy prisoner was interrupted halfway through his sentence by Bai Ye, who, unable to bear it any longer, flicked his finger and unleashed a burst of energy. A raging blast of air, as thick as a building, instantly engulfed the sexy prisoner's body, spreading outwards and instantly blasting away most of his body. Everything within a kilometer radius was destroyed, and blood soaked the wall behind him. This fellow S-class hero, sexy prisoner, couldn't even withstand a single blow from Bai Ye's attack before turning into a bloody pulp. What the hell? Playing gay in front of me is disgusting. It ruined my dinner today, what bad luck, screams erupted all around. Bai Ye rubbed his ears, feeling he'd gone a bit too far, but continued strolling the street expressionlessly. A minute later, the Hero Association headquarters received a report of sexy prisoner's death and immediately became serious. This was a rare occurrence of an S-class hero dying. Sexy prisoner is dead. Who did it? The association's high-ranking leaders immediately became serious. It was Nemesis. He killed sexy prisoner in public on the street. What should we do? A subordinate stammered, while the association leaders' brow furrowed deeply. He hadn't expected sexy prisoner to be killed by one of their own, and in such a heinous way, in the street. The situation instantly escalated. Finally, after much deliberation, he made his decision. Since the nemesis has killed someone, we absolutely cannot ignore this. If he's in Z City, immediately have Senior Bang suppress him. Also, remember to control public opinion and prevent this malicious news from spreading, and remember to be careful with your actions. Don't kill him, the association leader said, somewhat wary of the S-Class and A-Class personnel Bai Ye had brought. Yes, sir. Upon receiving the leader's order, the Hero Association headquarters immediately sprang into action. Silently, Bai Ye's hero number was instantly removed from the hero roster. This was done without any public announcement, clearly intended to be handled discreetly. Of course, this didn't escape the notice of those with ulterior motives. The reincarnators stared in astonishment as Bai Ye's title was removed from the list. Meanwhile, Bang, who was teaching his disciples at home, unexpectedly received a call from the Hero Association. Hello, Hero Association? What's the matter? Bang habitually hunched over as he picked up the phone, but the content of the call quickly made his expression turn serious. I understand, I'll take action, Bang said solemnly. Hanging up the phone, his slightly hunched back straightened instantly, his previously weakened energy surged, and his muscles bulged. Master, what happened? A disciple from the dojo asked, puzzled by his sudden seriousness, wondering what had caused his usually serene master to be so grave. Go and deal with an opponent, Bang said, turning and opening the dojo's door. He ran straight out, his steps swift, covering dozens of meters in a single stride, heading down the mountain. Meanwhile, on the other side, the reincarnators who had discovered Bai Ye's removal from the hero roster began calling the association to inquire. What do you mean? The nemesis is our boss. How could you remove his name from the official hero roster without a word? The sheer number of heroes pressuring the association put immense pressure on them, forcing the association's high-ranking member who had made the initial decision to step forward and explain. I apologize, heroes. Just now, the killer killed the association's S-Class hero, Sexy Prisoner. This act has seriously violated the code of conduct for heroes, and our actions are reasonable and legal. The leader spoke righteously into the microphone, expecting a barrage of criticism from Bai Ye's subordinates, but instead received a surprised voice. So, the killer, no, Bai Ye is now a wanted monster. The association's high-ranking member, not quite understanding the other's thought process, paused for a moment before saying, we haven't put the killer on the wanted list yet. After all, this is an internal matter of the Hero Association. We will consider your feelings, but please understand the association's difficulties. Understood, understood, we completely understand. The reincarnators' voices were tinged with excitement as they asked, if Bai Ye becomes a wanted criminal, what level of monster do you think he would be considered, demon level or dragon level? Given the killer's strength, he should be able to hunt dragon-level monsters on his own, the association's high-ranking member said uncertainly. After all, Bai Ye had only joined a few days ago, and they weren't very familiar with his strength. In that case, let's hand him over to us and let us deal with him, the reincarnators said. Huh? The association's higher-ups. Not expecting this outcome, were all stunned and couldn't help but ask, the nemesis isn't yours. That's right, he is indeed our boss, but since he made a mistake, he naturally deserves the punishment. We always judge by the matter, not the person. Even if my own father committed a crime, I would personally bring him to justice. Ivanov smiled on the other end of the phone, so since he's done something wrong, we naturally have to take action. However, this would be without a legitimate reason. How about you put the nemesis's name on a dragon-level monster wanted poster to prove our justice? A short while later, after the call from the Hero Association ended, Ivanov and the other reincarnators all sneered. There were only a handful of monsters above demon level, far more monks than porridge, not to mention that defeating Bai Ye would count as an achievement. Since that's the case, they might as well eliminate this troublemaker while they read it. On the streets of Z City, after beating up the sexy prisoner, Bai Ye leaned back comfortably in a noodle shop chair, eating his noodles without a care in the world. Around him, people cautiously observed him. Although the association had tried its best to cover it up, the news of an S-Class hero dying in the street inevitably spread. Those who were timid had already left when Bai Ye entered, leaving only bloodthirsty spectators who loved a good spectacle. Whoosh! At that moment, the curtain of the noodle shop was pulled open, and Bang, his face expressionless, glanced around before noticing Bai Ye's back. He walked in, sat down beside him, and waited. Seeing someone sit down beside him, Bai Ye gave him a slight glance, said nothing, and continued eating his udon noodles. After all, mushy noodles weren't tasty. 3 minutes later, Bai Ye gently placed his bowl of noodles on the table and walked out without a word, Bang silently following behind. The two walked out of the street in silence. Although they didn't do anything conspicuous, their appearances were their own advertisement. A large crowd of onlookers gathered almost immediately. To be honest, I was quite surprised to see you the first one here, Bai Ye said, a slight smile playing on his lips. He turned to Bang and spoke his first words. You've crossed a line. You actually killed sexy prisoner, a fellow hero. Bang's face tightened. Having experienced the Garu defection incident, he was still somewhat traumatized. That kind of thing doesn't matter anymore. Bai Ye was unconcerned about sexy prisoner's death, staring at the old man before him. Are you going to make a move? Here? You go first. Bang didn't hesitate. He clenched his fists, lowered his body, and assumed the starting stance for the water flow rock smashing fist. In that instant, Bai Ye sensed a change in the opponent's aura. Oh, so this is the water flow rock smashing fist. I've learned it. I'll definitely use it next time. Bai Ye stared intently at Bang's posture, analyzing Bang's martial arts with almost nanometer level precision. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.